Each breath in an Alaskan winter burns with cold. The air is sharp, stinging the throat and lungs. The landscape stretches endlessly in white and grey frozen rivers, deep snow and long hours of darkness. It is an environment that pushes the human body and mind to their limits. And yet, for thousands of years, people have not only survived here, they have built enduring cultures. Alaska Native communities crafted insulated clothing from animal skins, designed homes that trapped and conserved heat, and perfected hunting and food preservation techniques suited to extreme conditions. Every tool and every tradition was shaped by close observation of the land and respect for its natural cycles. In this environment, survival was never about conquering nature. It was about understanding it, knowing when to move, when to prepare, and when to endure. So as we step into this frozen world, one question remains. If human ingenuity can turn even this extreme into a home, what might that reveal about the strength, creativity, and adaptability that still lie within us today? Every breath you pull in is so cold it feels like glass shards dancing in your throat, and as you stand there surrounded by this brutal expanse of white and grey, you can't help but wonder, how did anyone manage to sleep here without simply turning into a human icicle by dawn? Many people harbor a simplified image of Native American life, often imagining a singular, universal experience of tipis on open plains, overlooking the vast diversity of cultures, environments, and ingenious adaptations that truly define their existence across North America. The reality was a mosaic of distinct tribal nations, each with a unique relationship to their land and its challenges, particularly the unforgiving grip of winter. From the frozen reaches of the Arctic to the temperate rainforests of the Pacific Northwest, and from the arid deserts of the Southwest to the dense woodlands of the East, hundreds of different communities developed highly specialized techniques to not only survive but thrive through the coldest months. The geographic distribution of these tribal nations was incredibly diverse. The Inuit and Yupik peoples inhabited the Arctic and subarctic, where temperatures plunged to unimaginable lows for much of the year. Further south, the Dene and Cree nations navigated the vast boreal forests. The Plains tribes, including the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Crow, roamed the expansive grasslands, enduring blizzards and extreme cold. In the eastern woodlands, nations like the Iroquois, Algonquin, and Cherokee built settled villages amidst dense forests. The Southwest was home to Pueblo peoples, Navajo, and Apache, who contended with cold desert nights, while the Pacific Northwest, with tribes such as the Haida, Tlingit, and Kwakiutl, faced damp, cold winters. Each of these regions demanded specific architectural solutions for winter dwellings. These winter dwellings were far from uniform. The iconic tipi, often associated with all Native Americans, was primarily a plains dwelling, designed for mobility and efficient heating. In the Arctic, the igloo, constructed from snow, was a marvel of thermal engineering. Further south, semi-subterranean houses offered protection from extreme cold in various regions, utilizing the insulating properties of the earth. The eastern woodland tribes constructed longhouses, communal structures built from wood and bark, while the Southwest saw multi-story adobe pueblos that conserved heat. Each structure was a testament to centuries of accumulated knowledge, refined through trial and error, ensuring warmth and safety against nature's harshest elements. The history of Native American adaptation to harsh winter environments is not merely a story of endurance, it is a narrative of profound ingenuity and deep ecological understanding. Long before the arrival of Europeans, indigenous peoples had perfected methods of food preservation, clothing design, shelter construction, and social organization that allowed them to navigate winters that would prove fatal to the unprepared. Their survival techniques were not just about staying alive, they were about maintaining community, culture, and spiritual well-being through periods of scarcity and extreme weather. Understanding these indigenous winter survival techniques offers more than just a historical curiosity. It provides invaluable lessons in sustainable living, resourcefulness, and resilience. In an era marked by increasing environmental uncertainty and a renewed interest in self-sufficiency, the wisdom embedded in these ancestral practices holds profound relevance. It highlights the importance of working with nature rather than against it, and the power of collective knowledge in overcoming seemingly insurmountable challenges. The intricate designs of Native American winter shelters were not merely places to escape the elements. They were sophisticated architectural responses to specific environmental pressures, each reflecting a deep understanding of local materials and thermal dynamics. Across the vast North American continent, different tribal nations developed diverse tent and shelter designs, ranging from the portable teepee of the plains to the robust longhouses of the eastern woodlands and the ingenious igloos of the Arctic. These structures were engineered with remarkable precision to withstand biting winds, heavy snowfalls, and sub-zero temperatures, ensuring the survival and comfort of their inhabitants. The engineering principles behind these winter-proof dwellings were often subtle but highly effective. Conical shapes, like those of the teepee, offered excellent wind resistance and allowed smoke to vent efficiently from a central fire. Dome structures, such as the wigwam or the igloo, provided optimal strength against snow load and minimized surface area exposed to cold winds. Semi-subterranean designs, common in many regions, leveraged the Earth's natural insulating properties, maintaining a more stable interior temperature regardless of external fluctuations. The placement of doorways, often facing away from prevailing winds or oriented towards the rising sun, further optimized thermal performance. Materials commonly used in winter shelter construction were almost exclusively sourced from the immediate environment. Animal hides, particularly buffalo, deer, and elk, were crucial for tipis and other tent-like structures, providing durable, windproof, and surprisingly insulating coverings. Wood, in the form of poles, logs, and bark, was fundamental for longhouses, wigwams, and permanent winter lodges. Earth, stone, and even snow were utilized for their thermal mass and insulating capabilities in semi-subterranean homes and igloos. Cattail mats, woven grasses, and moss were often employed as chinking and insulation layers, sealing gaps and adding warmth. Comparing dwelling designs across different geographical regions reveals distinct adaptations. Coastal tribes, facing damp, cold, and strong winds, often built sturdy plank houses or semi-subterranean structures that could withstand prolonged exposure to moisture and storms. Plains tribes, requiring mobility to follow buffalo herds, developed the easily erectable and transportable teepee, optimized for wind and cold. Mountain dwellers, contending with heavy snow and extreme temperature swings, might construct more permanent log structures or use rock shelters enhanced with temporary coverings. Each design was a direct response to the specific climate and available resources of its locale. The evolution of these winter housing structures spanned centuries, with each generation refining techniques and materials. Early shelters may have been simpler, perhaps temporary lean-tos or natural caves, augmented with hides. Over time, as communities developed more settled patterns and accumulated greater knowledge of their environment, structures became increasingly sophisticated. The development of specialized tools, improved processing techniques for hides and wood, and a deeper understanding of thermal principles all contributed to the continuous advancement of these vital winter homes, transforming basic survival into a more comfortable and sustainable way of life. The ability to retain heat within an enclosed space is not merely about blocking the cold. It involves a sophisticated understanding of physical principles, a knowledge that indigenous peoples intuitively applied in their traditional winter shelters. Heat always moves from warmer areas to colder areas, and effective insulation works by slowing this transfer, whether through conduction, convection, or radiation. Traditional Native American dwellings were master classes in managing these processes, creating pockets of warmth against the harshest external conditions. Natural insulation materials used by Native Americans were abundant and diverse. Animal hides, especially thick buffalo or elk skins, were critical for their dense fiber structure, trapping air and reducing convective heat loss. Bark, particularly from cedar or birch, was used in layers on longhouses and wigwams, providing an effective barrier against wind and moisture. Woven mats made from cattails or reeds, moss, and packed earth or clay were also employed to fill gaps and add thermal mass, slowing the conduction of heat through walls and floors. Snow itself, as seen in igloos, is an exceptional insulator due to the air trapped within its crystalline structure. Airflow management was another crucial aspect of maintaining warmth. While ventilation was necessary to allow smoke to escape from internal fires, It needed to be carefully controlled to prevent excessive heat loss. Smoke flaps on tipis, adjustable openings in longhouse roofs, and strategically placed vents in semi-subterranean homes were all designed to create a controlled draft that drew smoke out without creating strong cold currents at ground level. This careful balance ensured breathable air while minimizing the escape of precious warmth. Temperature gradient analysis within these dwellings reveals their efficiency. Typically, the warmest air would rise, accumulating near the peak of a tipi or the roof of a longhouse. However, the presence of an inner liner like the ozone in a tipi helped to create a dead airspace, preventing this warm air from simply escaping through the outer covering. At ground level, sleeping platforms often raised inhabitants off the cold earth, and layers of insulating bedding further protected them from conductive heat loss to the ground. This stratification of warmth allowed for comfort where it was most needed, near the occupants. Comparing these traditional methods with modern insulation techniques highlights an important continuity. Modern insulation, whether fiberglass, foam or cellulose, primarily works by trapping air to reduce heat transfer, much like the layered hides, bark, and plant fibers of traditional shelters. While contemporary materials offer higher R values, a measure of thermal resistance, the fundamental principle remains the same. Traditional Native American builders understood that air, when still, is a powerful insulator, and they ingeniously harnessed this principle using readily available natural resources, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of thermal physics centuries before its formal scientific articulation. The tipi, a symbol often mistakenly generalized to all Native American cultures, was in fact a highly specialized and ingeniously engineered dwelling developed by the Plains tribes for their nomadic lifestyle and the extreme conditions of their environment. Its structural elements were carefully designed for both portability and resilience. Typically, a tipi began with a tripod foundation of 3 main lodge poles, which were then augmented by many secondary poles, often numbering between 12 and 20, forming a stable conical framework. These poles were lashed together near the top, creating an opening for smoke to escape. The mathematical principles behind the conical design of the tipi are surprisingly sophisticated. The cone shape naturally sheds wind, presenting minimal resistance to powerful plains gusts, and its steeply angled sides prevent snow from accumulating, allowing it to slide off easily. This geometry also creates an optimal internal airflow pattern for a central fire. The rising smoke is naturally drawn upwards through the smoke hole, while fresh air can be drawn in from below, creating a convection current that efficiently vents the smoke while minimizing heat loss from the lower, occupied areas. Weather resistance features of tipi construction were paramount. The outer covering, typically made from tanned buffalo hides sewn together, was remarkably durable and windproof. In later periods, canvas replaced hides, offering similar protection. This cover was anchored to the ground with stakes, and often weighted down with stones to prevent lifting in strong winds. Crucially, the smoke flaps at the top were adjustable, allowing occupants to control the smoke exit and adapt to changing wind directions, preventing backdrafts and keeping the interior smoke-free. Seasonal adaptations for winter conditions transformed the tipi from a basic shelter into a formidable cold-weather home. The primary adaptation was the addition of an inner liner, known as the ozone. This liner, often made of lighter hides or woven mats, was suspended from the poles a few inches inside the main cover, extending from the ground to about head height. This created a critical dead airspace between the inner liner and the outer cover. The role of the ozone in heat retention was absolutely vital. This dead airspace acted as an insulating barrier, significantly reducing heat loss through the outer hide. Warm air rising from the central fire would get trapped between the ozone and the outer cover, circulating downwards and creating a more even temperature throughout the living space. Furthermore, the ozone prevented condensation from forming on the inside of the outer cover and dripping onto the occupants, a common problem in single-layer shelters. It also served as a windbreak, blocking drafts that might penetrate the outer cover, making the tipi a remarkably warm and comfortable sanctuary, even in the most brutal winter blizzards. The Eastern Woodland Longhouse was a testament to communal living and ingenious adaptation to the forest environment, particularly during the harsh winter months. These impressive structures, often hundreds of feet long, were built by nations such as the Iroquois and Algonquin, serving not just as dwellings, but as the very heart of their social and political life. Construction techniques for winter longhouses emphasized durability and insulation. They typically began with a framework of sturdy poles, often young trees, bent and lashed together to form an arched or rectangular tunnel-like shape. This framework was then covered with multiple layers of bark, most commonly elm or cedar, overlapped like shingles and secured with ties, creating a robust, watertight, and wind-proof shell. Communal living arrangements within the longhouse were central to its winter efficiency. Multiple families, sometimes dozens, shared a single longhouse, with individual family units occupying specific sections along the central aisle. This density of occupation meant that the body heat of many individuals contributed significantly to the overall warmth of the structure. Furthermore, several hearths, often one for every 2 families, were spaced along the central corridor, allowing for shared warmth and cooking. This heat sharing was a fundamental aspect of their winter survival strategy, transforming the longhouse into a large collective incubator against the cold. Insulation methods specific to woodland environments utilized the abundant natural resources. Beyond the layered bark exterior, the walls were often further insulated with woven mats made from cattails or reeds, or packed with moss and dried leaves. These materials trapped air, reducing heat loss through the walls. The earth floor, while cold, was often covered with insulating layers of animal furs, woven mats and dried grasses, providing a warmer surface for sleeping and daily activities. The sheer mass of the structure itself, combined with its layered construction, offered substantial thermal inertia, slowing the rate at which heat escaped. Smoke management and ventilation systems in a longhouse were crucial for health and comfort, given the multiple internal fires. Openings, or smoke holes, were left along the ridge of the roof directly above each hearth. These openings were often covered with movable bark flaps or animal hides that could be adjusted with poles, allowing for precise control of ventilation. This system created a natural draft, drawing smoke upwards and out of the dwelling, preventing the interior from becoming suffocatingly smoky while still minimizing the escape of warmth. The high ceilings also allowed smoke to rise above the living areas before exiting. Storage solutions for winter provisions were seamlessly integrated into the longhouse design. Raised platforms and shelves along the interior walls provided space for drying and storing corn, beans, squash, dried meats, and other vital foodstuffs. Underground storage pits, often located just outside the longhouse, or sometimes within a designated section, kept perishable goods cool and protected from freezing, pests, and spoilage. This centralized storage within or adjacent to the dwelling ensured that essential supplies were readily accessible during periods of heavy snow and extreme cold, minimizing the need to venture out into harsh weather for daily necessities. In the brutal extremes of the Arctic and subarctic, where temperatures plunge to unimaginable lows and resources are scarce, indigenous peoples developed some of the most remarkable winter dwellings on Earth. The igloo, a structure built entirely from snow, stands as an iconic testament to this ingenuity. Its construction involves carefully cutting and stacking blocks of compressed snow in a spiral pattern, forming a self-supporting dome. The thermal properties of the igloo are extraordinary. Snow, being about 90% trapped air, is an excellent insulator. The interior temperature of an igloo can be maintained significantly above freezing, even when outside temperatures are far below zero, simply from body heat and a small oil lamp or stove. Alongside the igloo, semi-subterranean house designs were prevalent in many Arctic and subarctic regions, particularly for more permanent winter settlements. These dwellings, often referred to as sod houses or pit houses, involved excavating a depression into the earth, then constructing a framework of wood or whalebone over it, which was then covered with layers of sod, earth, and sometimes snow. The earth provided incredible insulation, leveraging its thermal mass to stabilize interior temperatures. An entrance tunnel, often long and low, served as a cold trap, preventing warm air from escaping and cold air from directly entering the main living space. The use of materials like whalebone and driftwood in construction highlights the resourcefulness of these cultures in environments where trees are scarce or non-existent. Massive whale ribs and jawbones provided strong, curved structural elements for roofs and frameworks, while driftwood, carried by ocean currents, was painstakingly collected for poles and other building components. These materials, though seemingly unconventional, were expertly integrated into designs that maximized their strength and insulating potential. Snow itself was not just a building material for igloos, but a critical component in insulating other types of dwellings. Piled around the base of sod houses or banked against wooden structures, it added an extra layer of insulation, sealing gaps and preventing wind penetration. The deep snow cover also protected the ground from freezing as deeply, making it easier to access stored provisions or to construct new shelters. Its ubiquitous presence was transformed from a challenge into a fundamental resource for survival. Adaptation to extreme Arctic conditions was woven into every aspect of these dwellings. Low doorways and tunnels minimized heat loss. Raised sleeping platforms kept inhabitants above the coldest air near the floor. Strategically placed vents allowed for smoke escape, while preventing heat from rapidly dissipating. The compact, often circular or oval shapes, reduced surface area exposed to the elements, further minimizing heat loss. These homes were not just shelters, they were finely tuned machines for generating and conserving warmth in one of the planet's most unforgiving climates. Animal hides were absolutely fundamental to Native American winter survival, serving as a versatile material for everything from shelter coverings to clothing and bedding. The processing techniques for winter-grade hides were extensive and labor-intensive, often involving scraping, stretching, and brain tanning. Brain tanning, which involved rubbing the animal's brain matter into the hide, softened it and made it more pliable and water-resistant. Smoke tanning further preserved the hides and added water repellency, making them ideal for harsh winter conditions where moisture was a constant threat. Different animal hides offered distinct insulation properties, and their selection depended on availability and specific use. Buffalo hides, with their immense size and thick shaggy fur, were prized for tipi covers and heavy winter robes, offering unparalleled warmth and wind protection on the Great Plains. Deer and elk hides were more pliable and lighter, making them suitable for clothing, leggings, and moccasins. Beaver, otter, and other fur-bearing animal pelts provided exceptional warmth for inner clothing layers and bedding due to their dense underfur. Rabbit and squirrel furs, though smaller, were often sewn together to create warm blankets or linings. Methods of hide preparation and tanning varied regionally but shared common goals: to preserve the material, make it soft and pliable, and enhance its resistance to water and cold. After skinning, hides were typically fleshed to remove all muscle and fat, then stretched on frames to dry. Brains, fat, or other natural oils were then worked into the hide to break down its fibers, followed by a smoking process over a low fire. This meticulous process transformed raw skin into a durable, insulating material essential for winter. Layering techniques for maximum warmth were intuitively understood and widely practiced. Just as modern winter wear relies on multiple layers, Native Americans would wear several layers of hide clothing. An inner layer of soft fur-in skins, such as rabbit or beaver, would be worn close to the body for warmth. Over this, more durable deer or elk hide garments provided protection from wind and abrasion. A heavy outer robe, often a buffalo hide with the fur still attached, would be donned for extreme cold, trapping multiple layers of air and creating a formidable barrier against the elements. The maintenance and preservation of hide coverings were ongoing tasks. Hides needed to be kept dry to prevent rot and to maintain their insulating properties. Damp hides lose much of their thermal efficiency. They were aired out regularly, especially after being exposed to snow or moisture. Regular scraping or working of the hides helped to keep them soft and pliable. Tears and holes were promptly repaired with sinew and bone needles, ensuring the integrity of clothing and shelter. This continuous care ensured that these vital materials would last through the long winter months and beyond, a testament to the value placed on every part of the animal. Fire was not merely a source of heat for Native American communities during winter. It was a carefully managed resource, central to survival, cooking, light, and social cohesion. Traditional fire-making techniques were essential skills, often involving a bow drill or hand drill to generate friction and ignite tinder, a process that required patience, practice, and precise knowledge of suitable materials. Dry, fibrous tinder, such as cedar bark, dried fungi, or birds' nests, were crucial for catching the initial spark, which was then carefully nurtured into a flame. Strategic placement of fire pits within winter dwellings was paramount for both efficiency and safety. In tipis and longhouses, fires were centrally located, allowing heat to radiate evenly throughout the structure and smoke to rise directly towards the smoke hole or vent. In semi-subterranean homes, the fire pit might be strategically placed near the entrance tunnel or in the main living space, often with a carefully designed flue to draw smoke out. This central placement also facilitated communal gathering around the warmth. Smoke ventilation systems were ingeniously designed to prevent the accumulation of suffocating smoke while minimizing heat loss. In tipis, adjustable smoke flaps allowed precise control over the opening, directing smoke with changing winds. Longhouses featured multiple smoke holes along the roof ridge, each above a hearth, with movable covers. Even in earth lodges, a carefully constructed smoke hole in the roof or a dedicated vent pipe ensured proper airflow. The rising heat of the fire itself helped to create an updraft, pulling smoke away from the living area. Fuel conservation methods were critical, especially during prolonged snowfalls or in regions with scarce wood resources. Hardwoods that burned slowly and produced long-lasting coals were preferred. Fires were often kept small but constant rather than large and roaring, to maximize their heat output over time and conserve fuel. Banking the coals at night with ash or earth helped to preserve embers, making it easier to rekindle the fire in the morning without expending precious energy on starting a new one. Every piece of fuel was valued and used efficiently. Heat distribution within winter dwellings was further enhanced by the fire's placement and the dwelling's design. The conical shape of the teepee, for instance, helped circulate warm air. In longhouses, the multiple hearths along the central aisle ensured that warmth was distributed among the many families. The thermal mass of earth in semi-subterranean homes absorbed heat from the fire and slowly released it, stabilizing interior temperatures. Raised sleeping platforms and insulated bedding also helped to keep individuals warm even when the ambient air temperature was not uniformly high, creating localized zones of comfort around the life-giving fire. The selection and preparation of natural bedding materials were critical for maintaining warmth and comfort during brutal winter nights, providing a vital barrier between the body and the cold earth. Different tribes utilized a variety of materials based on their local environment and available resources. Preparation of winter sleeping surfaces often began with creating a raised platform, even if only a few inches off the ground. This simple elevation prevented direct conduction of heat into the frozen earth. On top of these platforms, or directly on the ground in other dwellings, a base layer of insulating materials was spread. These might include dried grasses, reeds, or pine needles, which trapped air and provided a soft, springy layer. In some regions, thick layers of moss were used for their excellent insulating properties. Insulation layers for ground protection were then built up. Over the base layer, animal skins with the fur left on were spread. Buffalo robes were highly prized on the plains for their thickness and warmth, while deer, elk, or bear hides were used in woodland and mountain regions. These layers created a formidable barrier against the cold, preventing body heat from being wicked away by the ground. The density of the fur trapped air, further enhancing insulation. Natural materials used for pillows and padding ranged from soft bundles of dried grass or moss wrapped in hides, to smaller, softer animal skins, or even specially prepared padded bags filled with down feathers or plant fibers. These provided comfort and elevated the head, further reducing heat loss from the body. The goal was always to create a comprehensive system of insulation that enveloped the sleeper from below and above. Maintenance and replacement of bedding materials were ongoing tasks. Bedding needed to be kept dry to retain its insulating properties. Damp furs or grasses would quickly lose their warmth. They were regularly aired out, especially after damp weather or if condensation formed within the dwelling. Worn or soiled materials were replaced as needed, and furs might be periodically cleaned or retanned to maintain their pliability and insulative quality. The meticulous care of bedding ensured that these vital components of winter survival would continue to provide warmth night after night. In the face of relentless winter, clothing was not merely an adornment, but a meticulously designed system of personal insulation, crucial for survival. Native American peoples developed sophisticated layering techniques that often mirror the principles of modern cold weather gear. An inner layer, typically made of soft, fine furs worn with the fur against the skin, such as rabbit, beaver, or muskrat, provided direct warmth and wicked away moisture. Over this, a middle layer of buckskin or elk hide offered additional insulation and durability. Finally, an outer layer, often a heavy fur robe like buffalo or bear, provided a windproof and water-resistant shell, trapping multiple layers of air and creating a powerful thermal barrier. The materials used in winter garment construction were almost exclusively derived from animals, chosen for their superior insulating properties. Animal hides, as previously mentioned, were central. Sinew, strong fibers from animal tendons, was used as thread, while bone awls and needles facilitated sewing. Fur was often left on the hides for maximum warmth, particularly for robes, mittens, and hats. In some regions, woven plant fibers might be incorporated for inner layers or specific garments, but animal products dominated winter wear. Footwear designed for snow conditions was critical, as frostbite was a constant threat. Moccasins, typically made from soft, pliable hides, were often worn with multiple layers of insulating liners, such as rabbit fur or dried grass, inside. For deep snow, snowshoes were indispensable, distributing weight over a larger area to prevent sinking. These were crafted from wood and rawhide, allowing for efficient travel across vast snow-covered landscapes. Over moccasins or specialized winter boots, sometimes made from thick hide with fur lining, provided additional protection for the feet and lower legs. Head coverings and face protection were also meticulously crafted. Hoods, often integrated into outer robes or worn separately, were lined with fur to protect the ears and scalp. Face masks made from fur or hide were used in extreme conditions to prevent frostbite on exposed skin. The goal was to minimize any exposed skin to the biting wind and cold, as a significant amount of body heat can be lost through the head. The storage and maintenance of winter clothing were ongoing necessities. Garments needed to be kept dry to retain their insulating properties, as damp hides lose much of their thermal efficiency. They were aired out regularly, especially after being exposed to snow or moisture, and often stored in dry areas within the dwelling. Tears and worn spots were promptly repaired with sinew and bone needles, ensuring the integrity of the clothing. This continuous care ensured that these vital garments would last through the long winter months, providing reliable protection against the elements. For Native American peoples, traditional knowledge of weather patterns was not merely academic, it was a matter of life and death, deeply integrated into their daily existence and long-term planning. Generations of observation and experiential learning led to sophisticated methods of weather prediction, allowing communities to anticipate changes and prepare accordingly. This knowledge was often passed down through oral traditions, stories, and practical demonstrations, ensuring its continuity. Seasonal preparation timing was meticulously guided by these weather insights. The appearance of certain constellations, the migration patterns of birds, the thickness of animal furs, or the behavior of insects were all indicators that signaled the onset of winter and the need to finalize food storage, shelter preparations, and fuel gathering. Missing these subtle cues could have catastrophic consequences. This deep connection to the natural world allowed for proactive rather than reactive responses to changing seasons. Storm shelter adaptations were an inherent part of dwelling design and community planning. Knowing when a major blizzard was approaching meant reinforcing tipi coverings, ensuring longhouse roofs were secure, or preparing additional windbreaks. In extreme situations, temporary shelters might be constructed more robustly, or individuals might seek out natural protection in caves or dense thickets. The ability to read the signs of an impending storm allowed for critical last-minute preparations that could mean the difference between survival and hardship. Wind direction management was also a key aspect of traditional weather knowledge. Prevailing winter winds were understood, and dwellings were often oriented to minimize their impact. Tipi smoke flaps were adjusted to account for wind shifts, preventing smoke from being blown back into the dwelling. Winter camps were strategically positioned in sheltered valleys, on the lee side of hills, or within dense forests to provide natural windbreaks, reducing heat loss and making daily life more bearable. Emergency weather protocols were an established part of community life. In the event of an unexpected severe storm, there were clear procedures for gathering everyone, ensuring the safety of children and elders, and securing vital resources. These protocols were reinforced through collective experience and shared responsibility, ensuring that the community could respond effectively to sudden and dangerous changes in weather. This deep understanding of weather patterns, honed over millennia, was a cornerstone of Native American winter survival. The challenge of winter meant overcoming scarcity, and food storage was a meticulously planned and executed endeavor for Native American communities, ensuring sustenance through months when fresh food was unavailable. Preservation techniques for winter food were diverse and highly effective. Meats, such as buffalo, deer, or fish, were often dried in the sun or over slow-burning fires to create jerky, which was lightweight, highly nutritious, and resistant to spoilage. Berries and other fruits were dried or pounded into cakes, sometimes mixed with fat and meat, to create pemmican, a high-energy, nutrient-dense survival food. Root vegetables were stored in cool, dark pits, while corn, beans, and squash were dried and kept in various containers. Strategic placement of food storage within shelters or adjacent to them was crucial. In longhouses, dried foods were hung from rafters or stored on raised platforms, keeping them away from dampness and pests. In earth lodges, storage pits were often dug beneath the floor or just outside, where the stable ground temperature helped to preserve perishable items. For nomadic tribes, using tipis, food caches were sometimes established along migration routes, buried and marked for later retrieval, though daily provisions were kept within the dwelling. This careful placement ensured accessibility during blizzards, while protecting the food from the elements and animals. Nutritional considerations for cold weather were intuitively understood. A diet rich in fats and proteins was essential to provide the sustained energy needed to generate body heat and endure physical exertion in cold environments. Pemmican, with its blend of dried meat, rendered fat, and berries, exemplified this understanding, offering a concentrated source of calories and nutrients. While carbohydrates from dried corn and other plant foods provided quick energy, the emphasis during winter was often on calorie-dense, fat-rich foods to fuel the body's increased metabolic demands. Cooking methods in winter dwellings were adapted to conserve heat and fuel. Fires were kept central, allowing multiple pots to be heated simultaneously. Stews and soups, which could simmer for hours, were common, maximizing the use of ingredients and providing a constant source of warmth and moisture. Hot stones were sometimes used to cook food inside containers or wrapped in leaves, providing an efficient way to transfer heat without a large, open flame. Cooking was not just about preparing food, it was an integral part of heating the dwelling and fostering community. Prevention of food freezing was a constant concern. While some foods, like certain root vegetables, could tolerate freezing and thawing, most preserved foods needed to be kept from becoming rock solid, which could make them difficult to consume and potentially damage their texture or nutritional value. Storage pits often had insulating layers of earth, leaves, or animal hides. Within dwellings, food was often stored closer to the fire or in elevated positions where the air was warmer, or wrapped in multiple layers of hides or woven mats to provide insulation against the cold. Water, a seemingly simple necessity, becomes a complex resource to manage during winter, especially when all natural sources are frozen solid. For Native American communities, efficient water management was a critical survival skill. Snow and ice collection techniques were fundamental. Freshly fallen snow was gathered, often from areas protected from wind and animal contamination, and brought into dwellings in containers made of bark, hide, or woven materials. Ice from frozen lakes or rivers was also harvested, sometimes in large blocks which could then be stored and slowly melted. Water storage methods were adapted to prevent freezing. Once melted, water was often kept in containers near the fire, where the ambient warmth would prevent it from solidifying again. Large bladders made from animal stomachs or rawhide bags were used for storage. In semi-subterranean homes, water might be stored in pits below the frost line, where the earth's insulation would keep it liquid. The goal was to have a ready supply of potable water without having to constantly melt snow, which is a very energy-intensive process. Prevention of freezing was paramount for both stored water and the water obtained from melting snow. Within the dwelling, containers were kept close to the warmth of the fire or tucked into insulated areas. Outside, large blocks of ice or packed snow could be used as a source, as their mass would slow the freezing process. For small amounts of water or for personal consumption, It was often kept in small personal containers carried close to the body, benefiting from body heat. Efficient use of melted snow was also important. Melting snow requires a significant amount of fuel and time, yielding surprisingly little water for the volume of snow. Therefore, water was conserved. Dirty snow was avoided, as it would require more fuel to boil and purify. Water from cooking, such as broth from stews, also served as a source of hydration. Communities understood that melting snow was an energy drain and sought to minimize the need for it through careful planning and storage. Water conservation strategies extended beyond simply preventing freezing. Water was rarely wasted. Dishes might be wiped clean rather than washed with water, or communal drinking vessels were used. Personal hygiene might be adapted to use less water, relying on snow for quick rinses or dry cleaning methods. Every drop of water was valued, reflecting a deep respect for this vital resource in a season when it was both abundant in frozen form and scarce in liquid, usable form. The strategic positioning and organization of a winter camp were not random. They were carefully planned decisions that profoundly impacted community survival and well-being. A well-designed layout provided crucial protection from the elements, facilitated communal living, and optimized resource access. Strategic positioning of winter camps often involved seeking natural shelters. Valleys, the lee side of hills, or dense forests provided natural windbreaks, reducing exposure to biting winds. Proximity to reliable water sources, even if frozen, was essential, as was access to fuel, wood, or other necessary resources. Camps were also often situated near hunting grounds, allowing access to game while minimizing travel in harsh conditions. The choice of location balanced protection, resources, and strategic advantages. Communal resource sharing was a cornerstone of winter survival, and the camp layout often reflected this. Centralized fire pits, shared cooking areas, or communal longhouses fostered cooperation and allowed for efficient use of fuel and labor. Tools, food, and knowledge were shared, reinforcing social bonds and ensuring that no individual or family was left to suffer alone. This collective approach maximized the chances of survival for everyone. Protection from winter elements was a primary driver of camp design. Dwellings might be clustered together for mutual protection against wind and cold, creating a microclimate within the camp. Snow fences or windbreaks made from branches and hides could be erected to deflect prevailing winds. The very act of living together helped generate a collective warmth that made the camp more resilient to the cold. Social organization during winter months often intensified as communities drew closer, both physically and socially. The confined spaces of winter dwellings and camps fostered greater interaction and interdependence. Leadership roles became crucial for managing resources, organizing hunts, and resolving disputes. Decision-making processes often involved the entire community, ensuring that everyone's needs and concerns were addressed. Shared responsibilities for survival were an inherent part of winter life. Tasks like gathering fuel, melting snow for water, maintaining fires, and preparing food were often distributed among community members, ensuring that the burden did not fall disproportionately on a few. Children learned these vital skills from a young age, and elders contributed their wisdom and experience. This collective effort, underpinned by a thoughtfully designed camp layout, transformed the daunting challenge of winter into a period of communal strength and resilience. The ingenuity of Native American peoples during winter was profoundly expressed through the development and refinement of specialized tools and technologies, each designed to overcome specific challenges posed by the cold, snow, and ice. These tools were not merely functional, they were often crafted with an aesthetic sensibility that reflected the deep connection between their creators and the natural world. Winter-specific tool development included items such as snowshoes, which allowed for efficient travel over deep snow without sinking. These were meticulously crafted from bent wood frames, often ash or birch, laced with rawhide webbing. Ice chisels, made from bone, antler, or sometimes stone, were essential for breaking through ice to access water or fish. Bone awls and needles were critical for sewing tough hides with sinew, enabling the creation of warm clothing and durable shelters. Specialized hunting tools like harpoons with detachable heads for ice hunting were also developed. Material selection for cold weather was crucial. Materials that remained strong and flexible in freezing temperatures were preferred. Bone and antler were excellent choices, as they retained their structural integrity better than some types of wood in extreme cold. Rawhide, made from untanned animal skin, was incredibly strong when dry and flexible when wet, making it ideal for lashing, webbing, and lines. Wood, when used, was carefully chosen for its strength, flexibility, and resistance to splitting in cold conditions. Tool maintenance in freezing conditions was an ongoing necessity. Wooden tools could become brittle and crack, requiring regular oiling or careful storage. Rawhide lashing could tighten or loosen with changes in humidity and temperature, requiring periodic adjustment. Metal tools, introduced later through trade, required protection from rust. Bone and antler tools, while robust, could dull or chip and needed to be sharpened. This constant attention ensured that vital tools remained functional when they were most needed. Innovation in winter survival equipment was a continuous process. Over generations, designs were refined, materials were tested, and new solutions were devised to improve efficiency and comfort. The evolution of different snowshoe designs, for instance, reflected adaptations to various snow depths and terrains, the development of specialized traps and snares for winter hunting, or improved methods for ice fishing, all demonstrate this ongoing spirit of innovation, driven by the demands of survival. Traditional manufacturing techniques were often communal and highly skilled. The crafting of snowshoes, for example, involved bending wood, curing rawhide, and intricate lacing patterns, often passed down through families or specialized artisans. The intricate sewing of hide clothing required precise cutting, stitching, and an understanding of how different hides would behave. These techniques were not just about making objects. They were about preserving knowledge, reinforcing community bonds, and ensuring the collective ability to thrive through winter. Traditional medicine played a profound and multifaceted role in Native American winter survival, extending far beyond simply treating illness to encompass proactive health maintenance, spiritual well-being, and community care. The cold months brought unique health challenges, and indigenous healing practices were deeply attuned to these specific needs. Winter health maintenance practices focused on prevention. This included consuming a diet rich in essential nutrients and fats to bolster immunity, staying warm through proper clothing and shelter, and maintaining cleanliness to prevent the spread of illness in confined spaces. Herbal teas and tonics, often rich in vitamins and immune-boosting compounds, were regularly consumed to ward off colds and other ailments. Physical activity, even in winter, was encouraged to maintain circulation and overall vitality. Treatment of cold-related ailments was a specialized area of traditional medicine. Frostbite, hypothermia, respiratory infections, and joint pain exacerbated by the cold were common concerns. Herbal remedies were used to treat symptoms: warming herbs for circulation, decongestants for respiratory issues, and anti-inflammatory plants for aches. Sweat lodges or steam baths were also used for purification, warmth, and to induce sweating, which was believed to cleanse the body and help alleviate respiratory problems. Medicinal plants stored for winter were carefully gathered and preserved during warmer months. Roots, barks, leaves, and berries, known for their healing properties, were dried, bundled, and stored in protected areas within dwellings or caches. This ensured a ready supply of vital medicines when fresh plants were unavailable. Knowledge of these plants, their preparation, and their uses was often held by healers or spiritual leaders, passed down through generations. Spiritual healing practices were deeply intertwined with physical health. Illness was often viewed as an imbalance, not just physically but spiritually. Winter, a time of introspection and hardship, often saw an increase in ceremonies and rituals aimed at restoring harmony, seeking guidance from spirits, or offering gratitude. These practices provided psychological comfort, reinforced community bonds, and fostered a sense of hope and resilience during challenging times, which was integral to overall well-being. Prevention of winter-related diseases was a holistic approach. It involved not only physical remedies but also social and spiritual practices. The communal nature of winter dwellings, while efficient for warmth, could also facilitate the spread of illness. Therefore, practices like airing out dwellings, maintaining personal hygiene, and isolating the sick when necessary were understood. The collective wisdom of the community, guided by its healers and elders, worked to minimize the impact of disease and ensure the health of all its members through the long winter. Children in Native American communities were not merely protected from winter, they were actively adapted to its demands, learning essential survival skills and resilience from a young age. Their education about winter survival was a hands-on, immersive process woven into daily life and play. They learned to identify safe ice, track animals in snow, understand weather patterns, and contribute to tasks like gathering small fuel wood or preparing food. This practical education ensured they were prepared for the challenges of the season. Special provisions for young ones were meticulously crafted to ensure their warmth and safety. Infants were often carried in cradle boards, which could be heavily insulated with furs, moss, and soft plant fibers, keeping them snug against a parent's body. Toddlers and young children were dressed in multiple layers of soft fur-lined clothing, often with hoods and mittens, designed to allow movement while maximizing warmth. Their sleeping areas were typically the warmest spots within the dwelling, closest to the fire or deepest within the sleeping furs. Winter activities and games played a crucial role in both education and physical development. While outdoor play might be limited by extreme cold, children learned to navigate snow and ice, developing strength and endurance. Inside, storytelling, traditional games, and crafts provided entertainment and continued the transmission of cultural knowledge. These activities fostered a sense of community and joy, counteracting the potential monotony or hardship of confinement. Protection strategies for infants were particularly critical. Beyond insulated carriers and warm clothing, mothers and caregivers provided constant vigilance, ensuring infants were fed regularly, kept dry, and protected from drafts. The warmth of the communal dwelling and the close proximity of family members provided a constant source of body heat and protection. The survival of the youngest members was a collective responsibility, paramount to the future of the tribe. Passing down winter survival knowledge was an intergenerational process. Elders and parents served as primary teachers, demonstrating skills, sharing stories of past winters, and guiding children in practical tasks. Through observation, imitation, and direct instruction, children absorbed the profound wisdom accumulated over centuries. This continuous transmission of knowledge ensured that each new generation was equipped with the understanding and skills necessary to navigate the challenges of winter, perpetuating the survival and cultural continuity of the community. The elderly held a revered position in Native American societies, and their care during winter was a testament to the community's values, ensuring their comfort, protection, and continued contribution. Special accommodations for elders were integral to winter living. They were often given the warmest spots within the dwelling, closest to the fire or sheltered from drafts. Their bedding was particularly well insulated, and they received priority access to the most comfortable furs and robes. Their physical needs, such as assistance with mobility or warmth, were attended to by younger family members. The role of elders in winter survival teaching was invaluable. While their physical capacity for strenuous tasks might diminish, their minds remained repositories of accumulated wisdom. They shared stories, recounted past winters, and provided guidance on weather patterns, hunting strategies, food preservation, and medicinal practices. Their experience was a living library, essential for decision-making and for educating the younger generations on the nuances of winter survival. Protection measures for the vulnerable extended beyond just the elderly to include anyone physically frail or ill. This meant ensuring they were adequately clothed, fed, and kept warm. In times of scarcity, the needs of the vulnerable were often prioritized, reflecting a deep communal ethic. Their comfort and survival were a collective responsibility, not an individual burden. Community support systems were robust, particularly during the challenging winter months. Extended family networks and tribal structures ensured that no elder was left without care. Younger members would gather fuel, prepare food, and perform other strenuous tasks, allowing elders to conserve their energy. This reciprocal relationship reinforced social bonds and ensured the well-being of all members, regardless of age or physical ability. Traditional wisdom preservation was a crucial outcome of caring for elders. By ensuring their survival and comfort, the community also preserved an irreplaceable source of knowledge and cultural memory. The stories, rituals, and practical skills that defined their way of life were held within the minds of the elders, and their continued presence was vital for the cultural continuity and resilience of the tribe. In essence, caring for the elders was caring for the past, present, and future of the community. The division of labor by gender in Native American communities during winter was not about inequality, but about specialized skills and collaborative survival efforts, each role equally vital to the collective well-being. Winter intensified the need for efficiency, and established gender roles ensured that all necessary tasks were performed effectively. Division of winter responsibilities often saw men focusing on hunting, trapping, and providing protection, which became more arduous and dangerous in snow and extreme cold. They were responsible for bringing in large game, securing fuel wood, and maintaining the structural integrity of shelters against winter storms. Women, on the other hand, were typically responsible for processing the game, tanning hides, preparing meat for storage, managing the fire, preparing and cooking food, making and mending clothing, and caring for children and elders within the dwelling. Specialized skills by gender were highly developed. Men possessed deep knowledge of tracking, hunting techniques, adapted for snow, and the construction of snowshoes and winter tools. Women were experts in hide preparation, intricate sewing with sinew, identifying and processing medicinal plants, and efficient food preservation methods. These specialized skills were honed over generations and were indispensable for winter survival. Collaborative survival efforts were the hallmark of their approach. While tasks might be divided, the entire community understood that their survival depended on everyone fulfilling their role efficiently and supporting one another. A successful hunt by the men meant food and hides for the women to process. Well-prepared hides and clothing by the women meant protection for the men on the hunt. This interdependence fostered strong community bonds and mutual respect. Teaching and learning between genders ensured that essential knowledge was passed down. Boys learned hunting and tracking from their fathers and uncles, while girls learned hide work and food preparation from their mothers and aunts. There was also a degree of flexibility, with individuals sometimes crossing traditional lines when necessity demanded, or possessing skills outside their primary gender role. Adaptation of roles in extreme conditions highlighted this flexibility. In times of severe scarcity, or when a primary provider was incapacitated, other community members, regardless of gender, would step up to fill critical roles. The ultimate goal was the survival of the community, and roles could adapt to achieve that. This deep-seated understanding of collective responsibility ensured resilience even in the face of the most challenging winter conditions. Winter was a season of profound spiritual significance for many Native American peoples, a time of introspection, storytelling, and heightened connection to the unseen world. Spiritual practices were not separate from survival. They were an integral part of it, providing strength, hope, and a sense of purpose during the darkest and coldest months. Winter ceremonies and rituals were common, often held within the warmth of communal dwellings. These might include long storytelling sessions, dances, and songs that reinforced tribal identity, recounted creation myths, or honored animal spirits. The confinement of winter provided an opportunity for concentrated spiritual focus, strengthening community bonds and renewing spiritual vitality. These ceremonies often sought to ensure the return of warmer weather and abundant resources. Spiritual preparation for winter was as vital as physical preparation. This could involve individual or communal fasting, prayer, and meditation to achieve mental clarity and spiritual readiness for the challenges ahead. It was believed that a strong spirit could help endure physical hardship, and that aligning oneself with the natural cycles of the earth was essential for harmony and well-being. Sacred items and their winter care were also observed. Bundles of sacred objects, ceremonial pipes, or medicine bags were often brought into the dwelling and treated with special reverence, sometimes used in daily prayers or rituals. Their presence reinforced spiritual connection and provided a sense of continuity and protection. Keeping these items safe and honored was part of maintaining spiritual balance. Community gathering practices intensified during winter. The shared space around the fire became a focal point for social and spiritual life. Storytelling, a powerful oral tradition, flourished, transmitting history, ethics, and practical knowledge from elders to youth. These gatherings reinforced social cohesion, provided entertainment, and created a sense of shared experience that countered the isolation that winter could bring. The connection between spirituality and survival was explicit. It was believed that respect for the land, animals, and spirits was essential for receiving their blessings and ensuring a successful hunt or a mild winter. Gratitude ceremonies were common, expressing appreciation for past provisions and hope for future abundance. This deep spiritual framework provided a moral compass and a psychological resilience that were as crucial to winter survival as warm clothing and full food stores. The deep understanding of animal behavior was an indispensable aspect of Native American winter survival, providing critical insights for hunting, resource management, and even weather prediction. This knowledge, accumulated over countless generations, allowed communities to navigate the challenges of a frozen landscape with remarkable precision. Understanding wildlife winter patterns was crucial for successful hunting and trapping. Knowing where deer would yard up for protection, where buffalo would seek shelter from blizzards, or where beaver would build their lodges, allowed hunters to conserve energy and increase their chances of success. They observed how animals adapted their movements, diets, and social structures in response to cold and snow. Using this information to anticipate their presence, hunting strategies in winter became highly specialized. Tracking animals in snow, for instance, became an art form, with hunters deciphering faint trails, understanding gait, and predicting movement based on snow depth and animal behavior. Snowshoes allowed hunters to pursue game more efficiently than animals struggling in deep snow. Group hunting techniques were often employed for larger game, maximizing success and minimizing risk in challenging conditions. Animal tracking in snow was a sophisticated skill. Hunters could differentiate between fresh and old tracks, identify the species, determine the animal's size, speed, and even its physical condition, simply by reading the marks left in the snow. They understood how changes in snow consistency affected tracks, and how to follow a trail even when it was faint or obscured by wind. This intimate knowledge of the snow-covered landscape was vital for locating elusive winter game. Predator awareness was also crucial. Understanding the movements and hunting habits of wolves, cougars, and bears in winter allowed communities to protect their camps and themselves. They knew to interpret warning signs such as fresh tracks or calls, and how to deter these powerful animals. This awareness was not just about defense, it also provided opportunities, as predators could sometimes lead hunters to injured or weakened prey. Using animal behavior for weather prediction was an ancient practice. The thickness of a beaver's lodge wall, the depth of a squirrel's buried nuts, the early or late migration of birds, or the increased activity of certain animals before a storm were all read as signs of impending weather changes. This intuitive understanding of animal responses to environmental shifts provided valuable, localized forecasts, allowing communities to prepare for incoming blizzards or prolonged cold snaps, further reinforcing their proactive approach to winter survival. Despite meticulous planning and deep traditional knowledge, emergencies could and did arise during winter, demanding quick thinking and specialized techniques. Native American communities developed a repertoire of emergency survival skills to cope with unexpected blizzards, getting lost, or unforeseen injuries. Quick shelter construction methods were vital, if caught unexpectedly in a storm or far from the main camp. A snow cave, for instance, could be dug quickly into a snowdrift, providing surprisingly effective insulation from wind and cold. A lean-to, constructed from tree branches and covered with boughs, hides, or snow, could offer temporary protection. The key was speed and efficiency, using available materials to create immediate refuge. Emergency fire starting in wet conditions was a critical skill. While traditional fire starting methods typically required dry tinder, emergency techniques involved finding the driest possible materials, perhaps the inner bark of certain trees, dry rotten wood from beneath a log, or even resinous pine knots, and carefully shielding them from moisture. Carrying a small, dry tinder bundle as a personal emergency kit was also a common practice. The ability to create fire in adverse conditions was paramount for warmth, drying clothes, and signaling. Navigation in winter storms presented immense challenges when visibility was reduced to near zero. Traditional knowledge of landmarks, prevailing wind directions, and the position of the sun, even when obscured, allowed for rudimentary navigation. Following animal trails, reading the lay of the land, or using a compass, if available through trade, were also methods. In whiteout conditions, sometimes the safest option was to build a temporary shelter and wait out the storm, conserving energy and avoiding getting further lost. First aid for cold-related injuries was a critical skill. Hypothermia and frostbite were ever-present dangers. Treatment for hypothermia involved getting the individual warm immediately, often by stripping wet clothing, wrapping them in dry furs, sharing body heat, and providing warm liquids. Frostbite treatment focused on slowly rewarming the affected area, protecting it from further injury, and seeking the guidance of a healer. Medicinal plants with warming properties or those that promoted circulation might also be used. Resource finding in emergency situations demanded ingenuity and deep knowledge of the local environment. If separated from food supplies, survivors would need to know how to find emergency food sources, such as edible roots under the snow, dormant plants, or small game that could be trapped. Locating emergency water sources, even in frozen landscapes, was also crucial. These skills were not just about finding sustenance, they were about maintaining hope and the will to survive until rescue or return to safety. Native American winter survival was never a one-size-fits-all approach. It was a testament to the remarkable adaptability of indigenous peoples, with techniques meticulously tailored to the specific challenges of diverse terrain types across North America. Mountain winter survival techniques focused on navigating steep, snow-covered slopes and extreme cold. Tribes in mountainous regions, like the Ute or Shoshone, developed specialized snowshoes for traction on inclines and used robust, often semi-subterranean shelters that could withstand heavy snow loads and fierce winds. They understood avalanche risks, traveled along ridges or through protected valleys, and relied on knowledge of high-altitude game trails. Plains winter adaptation methods revolved around mobility and exposure. Tribes like the Lakota and Cheyenne, facing vast open landscapes prone to blizzards, perfected the portable and wind-resistant teepee. Their survival depended on following buffalo herds, so rapid camp setup and dismantling were vital. They used buffalo hides for everything from shelter to clothing, maximizing the resources of their environment. Coastal winter survival strategies, employed by tribes such as the Haida or Marca, dealt with damp, cold conditions, strong coastal storms, and abundant marine resources. Their large, sturdy plank houses provided communal warmth and protection. They developed sophisticated fishing techniques for winter and relied on dried fish and marine mammals for sustenance, adapting their diet and hunting methods to the unique coastal ecosystem. Forest winter living techniques, practiced by nations like the Iroquois or Ojibwe, focused on utilizing the dense woodland environment. Longhouses and wigwams, built from wood and bark, provided durable, insulated shelters. They relied on deer, moose, and small game, along with stored nuts, berries, and cultivated crops. Their knowledge of forest resources for fuel, building materials, and medicinal plants was extensive. Desert winter survival methods, for tribes such as the Pueblo or Navajo in the southwest, addressed cold desert nights and limited water. Adobe pueblos and hogans, built with earth and stone, provided excellent thermal mass, absorbing heat during the day and radiating it at night. They conserved water meticulously, often collecting snow from higher elevations or relying on subterranean springs. Their diet included stored corn, beans, and squash, supplemented by hardy desert game. Each terrain demanded a unique blend of ingenuity, resourcefulness, and deep ecological knowledge for winter survival. Effective communication was a lifeline for Native American communities during winter, especially when harsh weather could isolate groups or individuals. Maintaining contact and sharing vital information was crucial for safety, resource management, and social cohesion. Signal systems between communities were essential, particularly for groups that might be spread out or for nomadic bands. Smoke signals, though less effective in thick winter air or blizzards, could still be used on clear, cold days. Specialized drums or horns might be used for long-distance signaling in certain regions. The understanding of shared signals allowed for quick dissemination of news, warnings, or requests for aid. Trail marking in snow was a practical and vital form of communication. When traveling, individuals or groups would leave specific markers, such as broken branches, piled stones, if not completely covered by snow, or distinct patterns of snowshoe tracks, to guide others or indicate direction. These subtle cues were understood by those who knew the local terrain and the cultural conventions for marking trails, preventing people from getting lost or leading them to specific locations. Emergency communication techniques were developed for critical situations. A series of specific calls, whistles, or shouts could convey distress or the need for immediate assistance. The use of reflective materials like polished stones or shells to catch the sun's light might also serve as a visual signal over distance. These methods were practiced and understood, ensuring that help could be summoned quickly when needed. Maintenance of communication paths was an ongoing effort. Trappers and hunters might regularly clear short sections of trails to make travel easier and to ensure that signals could be seen or heard. In areas with deep snow, maintaining snowshoe trails between encampments or resource sites was a collective effort, ensuring that these vital links remained open. This proactive maintenance prevented isolation and facilitated movement. Intertribal winter networking occurred, even across different language groups, often through established trade routes or shared hunting grounds. A common understanding of certain signals or a shared lingua franca for trade facilitated interaction. Winter gatherings, when possible, provided opportunities for diplomacy, information exchange, and the strengthening of alliances. This networking was crucial for broader resource sharing and collective security during the challenging winter months. Resource management was not just a seasonal task for Native American communities. It was a deeply ingrained philosophy, particularly critical during the lean winter months, when scarcity was a constant threat. Every resource, from fuel to water to food, was managed with meticulous care and a profound understanding of ecological balance. Fuel collection and storage were paramount. As winter approached, large quantities of wood were gathered, often from deadfall or selectively harvested trees, and transported back to encampments. This wood was then carefully stacked and covered to keep it dry, ensuring it would burn efficiently. In areas where wood was scarce, dried animal dung or other combustible materials were collected and stored. The goal was to have enough fuel to last through the entire winter, minimizing the need for dangerous trips in deep snow. Water source management involved identifying reliable sources that would not completely freeze over or could be accessed through ice. These sources were often protected and monitored. Snow and ice became primary water sources, requiring careful collection and melting as previously discussed. Communities developed strategies to ensure a continuous supply of potable water, recognizing its absolute necessity. Food resource allocation was a careful process, especially when supplies dwindled. Stored provisions were distributed equitably, often under the guidance of elders or leaders, to ensure that everyone received enough to survive. Priority might be given to children, pregnant women, or the elderly. Hunting success was shared, and communal meals reinforced the principle that everyone contributed and everyone benefited. This shared economy prevented hoarding and fostered collective well-being. Material conservation was practiced in all aspects of life. Animal hides were fully utilized, with no part going to waste. Bones were used for tools, needles, and awls, sinew for thread and lashing, fat for food, fuel, and tanning. Worn-out clothing or shelter coverings were repaired rather than discarded, or repurposed for other uses. This ethos of conservation ensured that every available resource was maximized and nothing was squandered. Sustainable winter practices were at the heart of their resource management. Hunting was done with respect for the animal populations, ensuring that future generations would also have game. Harvesting of plants and wood was conducted in a way that allowed for regeneration. This long-term perspective, rooted in a deep connection to the land, ensured that the environment could continue to provide for the community year after year, even through the most challenging winters. The intense pressures of winter profoundly influenced the social organization of Native American communities, often leading to tighter bonds, formalized leadership, and robust support systems. The need for collective survival fostered a heightened sense of interdependence and cooperation. Leadership roles during winter months often became more pronounced. Elders, experienced hunters, or wise women might take on greater responsibility for decision-making, resource allocation, and maintaining morale. Their accumulated wisdom and ability to navigate past hardships made their guidance invaluable. These leaders ensured that the community functioned cohesively and that vital tasks were accomplished. Decision-making processes during winter were often communal, involving consensus, especially on matters of resource management, hunting strategies, or relocation. While leaders might propose courses of action, The input of all family heads or respected individuals was often sought. This inclusive approach ensured that decisions were well considered and had the broad support of the community, which was crucial for adherence and success. Conflict resolution in confined spaces was a delicate but vital aspect of winter social dynamics. The close proximity of many individuals in dwellings for extended periods could lead to tensions. Communities developed established practices for resolving disputes peacefully, often involving mediation by elders or respected leaders. The emphasis was on maintaining harmony and preventing discord from disrupting the collective effort to survive. Community cohesion maintenance was paramount. Storytelling, ceremonies, games, and shared meals served to reinforce social bonds and cultural identity. These activities provided entertainment, reduced stress, and reminded everyone of their shared heritage and purpose. The sense of belonging and mutual support was a powerful antidote to the isolation and hardship of winter. Support systems for vulnerable members, including children, the elderly, the sick, and the disabled, were deeply embedded in the social structure. These individuals were not seen as burdens but as integral parts of the community, deserving of care and protection. Food, warmth, and attention were prioritized for them, reflecting a strong ethic of collective responsibility and compassion. This robust social organization ensured that the community as a whole could weather the winter, protecting its most vulnerable and preserving its cultural continuity. Even in the deepest grip of winter, trade and commerce remained an important, albeit adapted, aspect of Native American life, facilitating the exchange of essential goods, specialized resources, and cultural information between tribes. Harsh conditions often made long-distance travel difficult, but local and regional networks continued to function. Winter trading practices often involved more localized exchanges or the use of established trade partners who would meet at designated winter rendezvous points. Goods that were vital for winter survival, such as specialized furs, certain types of wood, flint for tools, or medicinal plants not available locally, were highly valued. The trade often shifted from bulk goods to more compact, high-value items that were easier to transport in snow. Storage of trade goods was carefully managed. Goods intended for winter trade or those acquired through it were protected from freezing and dampness, often kept in insulated caches or within dwellings. Perishable items were traded or consumed quickly, while durable goods could be held for later market. The value of goods often increased in winter due to scarcity and increased demand. Intertribal winter commerce fostered diplomacy and maintained alliances. The act of trade itself was often accompanied by ceremonies, gift-giving, and social interaction, reinforcing peace and mutual respect between nations. These winter exchanges provided opportunities to share news, arrange marriages, and resolve disputes, strengthening the broader regional network of relationships. Transportation of goods in snow relied on specialized technologies. Snowshoes and toboggans were indispensable for moving goods over long distances. Toboggans, simple sleds made from thin, flexible planks of wood, could carry substantial loads when pulled by humans or dogs. These methods allowed for the continued flow of essential goods even when trails were buried under deep snow, demonstrating significant ingenuity in overcoming logistical challenges. Maintenance of trade relationships was a long-term investment. Trust and reciprocity were key. Tribes would honor agreements, provide fair exchanges, and ensure the safety of traders, knowing that these relationships were vital for their own access to diverse resources. Winter, with its heightened needs, often underscored the importance of these enduring trade networks, reminding everyone of their interdependence. Winter, despite its hardships and confinements, was far from a period of grim endurance for Native American communities. It was a vibrant season for entertainment, cultural expression, and the strengthening of identity. The longer nights and reduced outdoor activity provided a unique opportunity for concentrated social and artistic pursuits. Winter storytelling traditions flourished around the warmth of the communal fire. Elders, as keepers of history and myth, would recount creation stories, heroic deeds, cautionary tales, and humorous anecdotes. These oral narratives served multiple purposes: to entertain, educate, transmit cultural values, and preserve historical memory. The flickering firelight and the shared warmth created an intimate atmosphere, drawing listeners into the rich tapestry of their heritage. Indoor games and activities provided both amusement and skill development. Games of chance, such as dice games using bone or stone pieces, were popular, as were various string games or intricate puzzles. These activities fostered camaraderie, sharpened mental acuity, and provided a welcome diversion from the daily routines of survival. Children learned important social skills and traditional knowledge through play. Artistic practices during winter often intensified. With more time spent indoors, individuals and groups engaged in crafting. This included intricate beadwork, quill work, carving of wood or bone, and the creation of ceremonial objects. These artistic endeavors were not just hobbies, they were expressions of cultural identity, spiritual beliefs, and personal skill, often involving the creation of items for future ceremonies or trade. Music and dance in winter dwellings were powerful forces for community cohesion and spiritual well-being. Drums, flutes, rattles, and vocalizations filled the air, accompanying songs that celebrated life, honored spirits, or recounted significant events. While large outdoor dances might be curtailed, smaller, more intimate performances within the longhouse or tipi provided an outlet for emotional expression and communal bonding, lifting spirits during the long, dark season. Cultural education during confined months was a continuous process. Children and youth spent more time with elders, absorbing traditional knowledge, language, and cultural practices. This informal education was immersive, teaching not only practical skills, but also the deeper philosophical and spiritual understandings of their world. Winter thus became a crucial period for the intergenerational transmission of culture, ensuring the continuity of their way of life. Even in the deepest freeze of winter, Native American communities were always looking ahead, meticulously preparing for the arrival of spring. This proactive approach was rooted in a profound understanding of natural cycles and ensured a smooth transition from the lean months to the period of renewed abundance. Recognition of seasonal changes began with subtle cues: the lengthening of daylight hours, the changing behavior of certain animals, the first signs of tree sap running, or the gradual softening of the snow were all indicators that winter's grip was beginning to loosen. This acute observation of the environment allowed communities to anticipate the seasonal shift and begin their preparations accordingly, rather than being caught off guard. Shelter transition preparations varied depending on the type of dwelling. For nomadic tribes using tipis, this meant preparing to move to new hunting grounds, cleaning and repairing tipi covers, and readying lodge poles for transport. For those in more permanent longhouses or earth lodges, it might involve airing out the dwelling, making repairs to the structure, or preparing for the transition to summer shelters or outdoor activities. The goal was to ensure dwellings were ready for the next phase of the annual cycle. Food storage assessment was critical as spring approached. Communities would carefully inventory remaining provisions, assessing what had lasted and what was scarce. This assessment informed immediate hunting or foraging strategies and helped plan for the coming growing season. Seeds for planting would be brought out, and preparations for spring planting would commence. This careful inventory ensured that resources were managed until new food sources became available. Tool maintenance and repair became a priority. Winter tools like snowshoes or ice chisels were cleaned, repaired, and stored away, while tools for spring activities, such as digging sticks, planting tools, or fishing nets, were brought out, sharpened, or fabricated anew. This cyclical maintenance ensured that the right tools were ready for each season's specific demands, maximizing efficiency and productivity. Community mobilization planning for spring involved organizing collective efforts for planting, hunting, fishing, and gathering. Decisions about where to move, what crops to plant, or which hunting grounds to visit were made communally, often guided by elders and leaders. This collective planning ensured that the community could efficiently transition into the productive season, capitalizing on the opportunities that spring offered after the long, challenging winter. The deep well of traditional Native American winter survival knowledge is not confined to history. It holds profound relevance for modern applications, offering invaluable lessons in resilience, sustainability, and living in harmony with nature. Relevance to contemporary survival is evident in many fields. Outdoor enthusiasts, wilderness survivalists, and military personnel often study indigenous techniques for shelter building, fire starting, water procurement, and navigation in cold environments. The principles of layering clothing, efficient fuel use, and understanding animal behavior remain foundational to modern cold weather survival training. Integration with modern materials allows for a powerful synergy. While traditional knowledge emphasizes natural resources, the core principles can be applied using contemporary materials. For example, the concept of the tipi zazan inner liner creating a dead air space is mirrored in double-walled tents. Modern insulated clothing uses trapped air, just like fur. This integration allows for enhanced performance by combining ancient wisdom with new technologies. Sustainable living lessons are perhaps one of the most significant contributions. The indigenous ethos of resource conservation, waste reduction, and living within ecological limits offers a powerful model for addressing contemporary environmental challenges. Their deep respect for the land and its resources demonstrates a sustainable way of life that stands in stark contrast to modern consumerism. Application in outdoor education is widespread. Many outdoor schools, wilderness programs, and nature centers incorporate traditional Native American skills into their curricula, teaching participants about fire by friction, shelter construction with natural materials, edible plant identification, and tracking. This not only imparts practical skills, but also fosters a deeper appreciation for indigenous cultures and their ecological wisdom. Conservation of traditional practices is crucial. Efforts are being made by indigenous communities themselves, often in collaboration with non-native educators and researchers, to document, revitalize, and teach these ancestral skills. This ensures that the knowledge, honed over millennia, is not lost, but continues to inform and inspire future generations, providing a vital link to a sustainable past and a resilient future. Climate change presents unprecedented challenges to traditional Native American winter survival methods, forcing communities to adapt to rapidly shifting environmental conditions that undermine centuries of accumulated knowledge. The predictability that once guided their practices is increasingly erratic. Adaptation to changing weather patterns is an ongoing struggle. Milder winters mean less reliable ice for travel and hunting, while more frequent extreme weather events, like sudden blizzards or ice storms, pose new threats. Traditional knowledge of animal migrations or plant cycles, once dependable, is being disrupted as species respond to altered climates. Communities must constantly adjust their timing for hunting, gathering, and preparing for a winter that no longer conforms to historical norms. Modification of traditional techniques is necessary to cope with these changes. For example, if traditional hunting grounds are no longer accessible due to thin ice, new routes must be found. If certain medicinal plants are no longer thriving in their usual locations, alternatives must be identified. This requires an agile response, drawing on both existing knowledge and innovative problem-solving, sometimes even relearning what was once considered settled. Documentation of changing practices is becoming increasingly important. Elders and knowledge keepers are working to record not only the traditional methods, but also the ways in which these methods are being affected and adapted by climate change. This documentation serves as a historical record and a guide for future generations facing an uncertain environmental future. It highlights the resilience and adaptive capacity of indigenous cultures. Community responses to environmental changes are often collaborative and holistic. Tribes are engaging in scientific monitoring, combining traditional ecological knowledge with Western science to understand and address the impacts of climate change. They are advocating for environmental protection and working to restore ecosystems to enhance their resilience. These responses are deeply rooted in their cultural values of stewardship and responsibility to future generations. Future preservation strategies for traditional winter survival knowledge must account for a dynamic environment. This involves not just preserving the static knowledge of how things were done, but also fostering the adaptive capacity that allowed these cultures to thrive for millennia. It means teaching the principles of observation, innovation, and resilience, empowering future generations to continue adapting their practices to whatever environmental challenges they may face. The transmission of traditional Native American winter survival knowledge is a vital intergenerational process, ensuring that the wisdom accumulated over millennia continues to guide and empower future generations. This teaching is often holistic, blending practical skills with cultural values and spiritual understanding. Educational methods for youth are typically hands-on and experiential. Children learn by doing, observing, and participating in daily activities from a young age. They accompany elders and parents on gathering trips, watch hide tanning, help set traps, and practice fire starting. Stories and games also serve as powerful teaching tools, embedding practical information within memorable narratives. Hands-on learning techniques are central to mastering these skills. Instead of abstract instruction, youth are guided through the actual processes of building shelters, crafting tools, preparing food, and navigating the winter landscape. This direct engagement fosters a deep understanding and confidence in their abilities, allowing them to internalize the skills through repeated practice and direct experience. Integration with formal education is increasingly occurring. Some tribal schools and cultural programs are incorporating traditional winter survival curricula into their academic offerings, recognizing its importance for cultural identity and practical life skills. This can involve workshops, field trips, and partnerships with elders to bring traditional knowledge into structured learning environments. Preservation of oral traditions remains paramount. Many aspects of winter survival, from weather prediction cues to specific hunting rituals, are embedded in stories, songs, and ceremonies. Elders continue to share these narratives, ensuring that the nuanced details and cultural context of survival knowledge are passed down. The act of listening and remembering is a core component of this learning. Modern teaching tools and approaches are also being utilized to enhance the transmission of this knowledge. This can include video documentation of elders demonstrating skills, creating illustrated guides, or using digital platforms to share information. While respecting the sacredness and context of traditional knowledge, these tools can help bridge generational gaps and reach a wider audience, ensuring that the invaluable wisdom of Native American winter survival endures. The legacy of Native American winter survival is an enduring testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and profound ecological wisdom, offering critical insights that extend far beyond historical interest. Its future preservation is not merely about archiving the past. It is about ensuring this vital knowledge continues to inform and inspire. Documentation of traditional methods is a crucial step in preserving this legacy. Ethnobotanists, anthropologists, and increasingly indigenous communities themselves are recording the intricate details of shelter construction, food preservation, clothing design, and resource management. This documentation, whether through written accounts, audio recordings, or video, ensures that specific techniques and knowledge are not lost. Integration with modern survival techniques offers a powerful synergy. The fundamental principles of indigenous survival, such as layering for warmth or efficient fire management, are timeless and can be effectively combined with contemporary gear and scientific understanding. This integration creates a more robust and adaptable skill set for anyone facing cold weather challenges, acknowledging the strengths of both traditional and modern approaches. Preservation of cultural knowledge is at the heart of this effort. Winter survival techniques are not just practical skills, they are deeply intertwined with language, spiritual beliefs, social structures, and cultural identity. By preserving the survival knowledge, communities also preserve a significant portion of their cultural heritage, reinforcing their connection to their ancestors and their land. Adaptation for future generations is essential. As environments change due to climate shifts, the static knowledge of how things were must be complemented by the adaptive capacity that allowed indigenous cultures to thrive for millennia. Teaching the principles of observation, innovation, and resilience empowers future generations to modify and evolve these techniques, ensuring their continued relevance in a changing world. The importance of maintaining traditional wisdom cannot be overstated. It offers a counter-narrative to the dominant culture's often unsustainable practices, providing a model of living in harmony with nature. This wisdom teaches respect for resources, the value of community, and the profound satisfaction of self-sufficiency. By preserving and honoring Native American winter survival knowledge, we not only pay tribute to a rich past, but also gain invaluable guidance for navigating the challenges of our collective future. The spiritual connection to their ancestors and their land is not merely a philosophical concept, it is a practical guiding force that shapes every aspect of their survival strategies. This deep reverence for the earth and its cycles informs their resource management, their hunting practices, and their very understanding of their place within the ecosystem. It is a relationship of reciprocity where the land provides and in return, it is respected and protected. This spiritual bond is often expressed through ceremonies, stories, and daily practices that reinforce their interconnectedness with the natural world, ensuring that survival is not just about physical sustenance, but also about the continuation of a cultural and spiritual heritage. Adaptation for future generations is essential. As environments change due to climate shifts, the static knowledge of how things were must be complemented by the adaptive capacity that allowed indigenous cultures to thrive for millennia. Teaching the principles of observation, innovation, and resilience empowers future generations to modify and evolve these techniques, ensuring their continued relevance in a changing world. This involves not just the transfer of knowledge, but also the fostering of a mindset that embraces flexibility and problem-solving in the face of new challenges. For instance, while traditional knowledge might detail specific hunting grounds, future generations might need to adapt these methods to new migratory patterns of game or altered landscapes due to permafrost melt or changes in vegetation. The core principles of tracking, understanding animal behavior, and efficient resource utilization remain vital, but their application must be dynamic. The stories and oral histories that carry these traditions often contain embedded lessons about adapting to unforeseen circumstances, serving as a blueprint for navigating an uncertain future. The importance of maintaining traditional wisdom cannot be overstated. It offers a counter-narrative to the dominant culture's often unsustainable practices, providing a model of living in harmony with nature. This wisdom teaches respect for resources, the value of community, and the profound satisfaction of self-sufficiency. By preserving and honoring Native American winter survival knowledge, we not only pay tribute to a rich past, but also gain invaluable guidance for navigating the challenges of our collective future. This wisdom extends beyond mere techniques. It encompasses a worldview that prioritizes long-term sustainability over short-term gain, a perspective desperately needed in an era of environmental crisis. The emphasis on community, for example, highlights the understanding that individual survival is inextricably linked to the well-being of the group, a stark contrast to more individualistic approaches that can lead to resource depletion and social fragmentation. Consider the intricate understanding of snow and ice that is passed down through generations. For those living in the Arctic and subarctic regions, snow is not simply a uniform blanket. It is a complex, dynamic material with countless variations, each holding specific implications for travel, shelter, and hunting. Elders teach the nuanced differences between packed snow, wind-blown drifts, soft powder, and the deceptive crust that can conceal hidden dangers. They know how certain types of snow can be used to insulate a quinzhee or an igloo, trapping air and providing remarkable warmth even in extreme cold. They can read the subtle cues in the snow's texture and color to predict approaching weather changes, understanding how a certain sheen might indicate an impending thaw or a specific crystalline structure might foretell a heavy snowfall. This detailed knowledge is not theoretical, it is experiential, honed over countless winters, and its accurate interpretation can mean the difference between life and death. A misjudgment about ice thickness on a frozen river, for example, could lead to disaster, while a keen eye for the subtle signs of weakening ice can guide a traveler to safety. This specific knowledge of the environment is deeply interwoven with their language, with many indigenous languages possessing a rich vocabulary for describing various types of snow and ice, each term carrying specific practical implications. Furthermore, the indigenous approach to hunting and trapping exemplifies this deep ecological understanding. It is not an act of random pursuit, but a carefully orchestrated process rooted in observation, patience, and respect for the prey. Hunters learn to track animals not just by their footprints, but by subtle disturbances in the snow, broken twigs, or even the scent carried on the wind. They understand the seasonal movements of caribou, the denning habits of bears, and the preferred hunting grounds of wolves, often observing these apex predators to learn from their strategies. The taking of an animal is often accompanied by rituals of gratitude and respect, acknowledging the life given to sustain the community. This ensures that hunting is not simply about immediate sustenance, but also about maintaining the health of the animal populations and the broader ecosystem. The concept of waste not, want not is central, with every part of the animal utilized: meat for food, hides for clothing and shelter, bones for tools, and sinew for thread. This holistic approach minimizes waste and maximizes efficiency, a critical component of survival in resource-scarce environments. The act of sharing the bounty from a successful hunt reinforces community bonds and ensures that even those who were not part of the hunt benefit, strengthening the collective resilience against hardship. The construction of temporary shelters, vital for surviving unexpected blizzards or for extended hunting trips, also showcases an incredible ingenuity. Beyond the well-known igloo, which requires specific snow conditions and considerable skill to construct, many indigenous groups utilized a variety of quick-build shelters. These might include snow caves, dug into deep drifts, providing immediate protection from wind and cold. Lean-tos constructed from available branches and covered with snow or animal hides offered more temporary respite. The emphasis was always on utilizing readily available materials and maximizing insulation against the extreme cold. The design of these shelters often incorporated principles of passive heating and ventilation, ensuring a comfortable interior despite sub-zero external temperatures. For example, the entrance to a snow cave would often be lower than the main sleeping area, allowing cold air to sink and warm air to rise, creating a natural convection system. These aren't just buildings, they are living structures adapted to the immediate environment and built with a profound understanding of thermodynamics and material science, albeit through an empirical intergenerational learning process. Beyond the physical techniques, the psychological and social aspects of winter survival are equally profound. The long, dark winters can take a toll on mental well-being, and indigenous cultures have developed sophisticated strategies to combat isolation and despair. Storytelling, music, and communal gatherings play a crucial role in maintaining morale and reinforcing social cohesion. The sharing of tales, often rich with humor, wisdom, and mythological significance, not only entertains, but also transmits cultural values and practical knowledge. These narratives often feature characters overcoming immense challenges, providing models of resilience and perseverance. The communal aspect of food preparation and sharing, especially during the leanest months, strengthens bonds and ensures that no one is left to suffer alone. Laughter and shared experiences are not luxuries, they are essential tools for psychological survival, fostering a sense of belonging and purpose in the face of adversity. The emphasis on collective responsibility means that individuals are not left to fend for themselves entirely. Rather, the community acts as a safety net, sharing resources and burdens. This collective spirit is a powerful antidote to the isolating effects of extreme cold and limited resources. The clothing systems developed by indigenous peoples of the Arctic and subarctic are marvels of functional design, honed over millennia. Far from simple garments, they are multi-layered, breathable systems that trap warm air while allowing moisture to escape, preventing dangerous chilling from sweat. Caribou hides, with their hollow hairs, provide exceptional insulation, making them a preferred material for parkas and trousers. The design often includes hoods lined with wolverine fur, which resists frosting around the face, and mittens that can be easily removed for dexterity. Footwear, often made from seal skin or caribou hide, is designed to be waterproof and insulating, sometimes incorporating grass or fur inserts for additional warmth. The stitching techniques, using sinew and bone needles, are incredibly precise, creating durable and water-resistant seams. This is not just about keeping warm, it's about managing moisture, preventing frostbite, and allowing for sustained activity in extreme cold. Each element of the clothing system is carefully considered for its specific function, from the length of a parka to the type of fur used for trim. The knowledge of how to prepare these hides, a complex process involving scraping, tanning, and softening, is itself a specialized skill passed down through generations. The understanding of plant medicine and nutrition also plays a critical role in winter survival. While the landscape might appear barren in winter, indigenous peoples possess extensive knowledge of which plants retain medicinal properties or can be harvested for limited nutritional value, even in frozen conditions. They know where to find nutrient-rich mosses, lichens, or the inner bark of certain trees that can supplement a diet primarily consisting of meat and fat. Berries, harvested in autumn and preserved through drying or freezing, provide essential vitamins. This botanical knowledge is not just about identifying plants, it's about understanding their seasonal availability, their preparation methods, and their specific medicinal uses. For instance, Certain teas made from conifer needles can provide vitamin C, preventing scurvy, a common ailment in diets lacking fresh produce. This deep understanding of the local flora and fauna allows them to extract maximum benefit from their environment, even in the harshest seasons, demonstrating a profound botanical and nutritional science developed through empirical observation over countless generations. The intergenerational transmission of this knowledge is perhaps the most critical aspect of its enduring legacy. It is not taught in classrooms but through direct experience, observation, and storytelling within the family and community. Children learn by doing, accompanying elders on hunting trips, helping with hide preparation, or assisting in the construction of shelters. They absorb the nuances of their environment through constant exposure and guided practice. Elders serve as living libraries, repositories of wisdom accumulated over decades, and their role in educating the young is paramount. This hands-on, immersive learning ensures that the knowledge is not just memorized but deeply understood and internalized, becoming an intuitive part of their being. The oral tradition, rich with myths, legends, and practical advice, reinforces these lessons, making them memorable and culturally significant. This method of learning fosters a deep respect for elders and for the traditions they embody, ensuring the continuous flow of vital information from one generation to the next. Furthermore, the indigenous approach to resource management is inherently sustainable, a stark contrast to the often extractive practices of industrial societies. The concept of taking only what is needed and leaving enough for future generations and for the animals themselves is fundamental. This is not driven by strict regulations but by a deeply ingrained ethical framework that views humans as part of, rather than separate from, the natural world. They understand that overhunting or overharvesting can lead to the depletion of resources, ultimately harming the community. This long-term perspective ensures the health of the ecosystem for generations to come. For example, certain hunting grounds might be rotated, or specific animal populations might be allowed to recover before being hunted again. This stewardship of the land and its resources is a testament to their profound ecological wisdom and their commitment to a sustainable future. It's a reciprocal relationship where the land is cared for, and in turn it continues to provide. The adaptation of tools and technology is another hallmark of indigenous ingenuity. While often perceived as primitive by outsiders, their tools are elegantly designed for their specific purpose, maximizing efficiency with minimal resources. Bone needles, antler tools, stone knives, and specialized traps are all crafted with a deep understanding of materials, science, and mechanics. The snowshoe, for instance, is a deceptively simple yet highly effective technology that allows travel over deep snow, distributing weight and preventing sinking. Its design varies among different groups, reflecting local snow conditions and travel needs. The sled, crucial for transporting goods and game over long distances, is another example of sophisticated engineering, often constructed from flexible wood and designed to glide smoothly over varied terrain. These tools are not mass-produced. They are often custom-made, tailored to the individual user and the specific environment, reflecting a personalized approach to technology that stands in contrast to modern industrial production. The skills required to craft these tools, from selecting the right materials to shaping and assembling them, are themselves complex and passed down through generations, ensuring the continuity of these vital technologies. The ability to navigate vast and often featureless winter landscapes without modern instruments is another remarkable aspect of indigenous survival. They read the subtle cues of the environment, the direction of prevailing winds, the patterns of snowdrift, the position of the sun and stars, and even the growth patterns of trees. They develop an internal compass, an intuitive sense of direction honed through years of travel and observation. This navigational skill is not just about getting from point A to point B, it's about understanding the land as a living map, rich with landmarks and signs that are invisible to the untrained eye. Stories and songs often embed navigational information, making it memorable and culturally significant. This deep connection to the land allows them to move confidently and efficiently even in whiteout conditions, relying on a profound intimacy with their surroundings that transcends mere cartography. Finally, the resilience of these cultures, enduring centuries of colonization, environmental change, and societal pressures, speaks volumes about the power of their traditional knowledge. Despite immense challenges, many indigenous communities have maintained their languages, their spiritual practices, and their survival skills, adapting them to modern contexts while preserving their core values. This resilience is not just about survival in the physical sense, it is about the survival of a way of life, a worldview that offers profound lessons for all of humanity. Their continued existence and the vibrancy of their cultures are a testament to the strength and wisdom embedded in their ancestral knowledge, offering a beacon of hope and a model for sustainable living in a rapidly changing world. The ongoing efforts to revitalize languages, reclaim traditional lands, and reassert cultural practices are vital steps in ensuring that this invaluable wisdom continues to inform and enrich future generations. The challenges are significant, but the determination to preserve this legacy is unwavering, fueled by a deep respect for the ancestors and a profound commitment to the well-being of those yet to come. Many indigenous communities have maintained their languages, their spiritual practices, and their survival skills, adapting them to modern contexts while preserving their core values. This resilience is not just about survival in the physical sense, it is about the survival of a way of life, a worldview that offers profound lessons for all of humanity. Their continued existence and the vibrancy of their cultures are a testament to the strength and wisdom embedded in their ancestral knowledge, offering a beacon of hope and a model for sustainable living in a rapidly changing world. The ongoing efforts to revitalize languages, reclaim traditional lands, and reassert cultural practices are vital steps in ensuring that this invaluable wisdom continues to inform and enrich future generations. The challenges are significant, but the determination to preserve this legacy is unwavering, fueled by a deep respect for the ancestors and a profound commitment to the well-being of those yet to come. The revitalization of indigenous languages, for instance, represents a profound act of cultural reclamation, as language is not merely a tool for communication, but a vessel for an entire worldview, carrying within its syntax and lexicon the unique ways a people understand their environment, their history, and their spiritual connection to the land. Programs like those in many Athabaskan communities, where elders work with younger generations to teach traditional languages through immersion camps and community-based learning initiatives, are crucial in reversing the damage caused by generations of forced assimilation. These efforts often involve creating new educational materials, developing apps, and even producing media like documentaries and radio programs entirely in indigenous languages, thereby making them relevant and accessible to a new generation accustomed to digital platforms. The struggle to keep these languages alive is often fraught with difficulties, including a dwindling number of fluent speakers and a lack of resources, yet the passion and dedication of those involved are truly inspiring, demonstrating a deep understanding that language loss is not merely the loss of words, but the erosion of a distinct way of knowing and being in the world. Beyond language, the reassertion of spiritual practices plays an equally significant role in cultural preservation and healing within indigenous communities. For many Apache and Athabaskan peoples, ceremonies and traditional gatherings are not just rituals, they are vital components of their social fabric, connecting individuals to their ancestors, their community, and the spiritual forces that guide their lives. The sunrise ceremony, for example, a coming-of-age ritual for young Apache women, is a powerful affirmation of identity and tradition, involving elaborate dances, songs, and blessings that have been passed down through countless generations. These ceremonies are not static. They evolve while retaining their core essence, incorporating elements of contemporary life while maintaining the sacredness of their original intent. In Alaska, similar gatherings, often centered around seasonal events like salmon runs or caribou migrations, reinforce communal bonds and transmit ecological knowledge essential for survival in a harsh environment. These spiritual practices provide a sense of belonging, purpose, and continuity, fostering mental and emotional well-being in communities that have faced immense historical trauma. The return to these practices is a testament to an enduring faith and a conscious rejection of the colonial narratives that sought to diminish or erase indigenous spiritualities. The concept of land reclamation and the assertion of Aboriginal title are also central to the ongoing efforts of indigenous communities to preserve their heritage and secure their future. For many indigenous peoples, land is not just property, it is an extension of their identity, a living entity that holds ancestral memories, provides sustenance, and forms the basis of their spiritual beliefs. The legal and political battles to regain control over traditional territories, often involving protracted court cases and negotiations with government bodies, are incredibly complex but vitally important. Successes in these areas, such as the establishment of tribal parks or the co-management of natural resources, allow communities to implement traditional ecological knowledge in conservation efforts, ensuring the sustainable use of the land for future generations. These endeavors often bring indigenous communities into direct conflict with powerful corporate interests, particularly those involved in resource extraction, highlighting the ongoing struggle to balance economic development with environmental protection and cultural preservation. The fight for land is thus a fight for sovereignty, for self-determination, and for the right to continue living in accordance with ancestral values. Furthermore, the adaptation of survival skills to modern contexts showcases an incredible ingenuity and resourcefulness. While traditional hunting, fishing, and gathering techniques remain essential for many, particularly in remote areas, indigenous communities are also embracing new technologies and knowledge to enhance their resilience. This might involve using drones for monitoring wildlife populations, employing satellite imagery for tracking environmental changes, or developing sustainable energy solutions tailored to their specific needs. Education plays a crucial role in this adaptation, with many indigenous students pursuing higher education in fields like environmental science, law, and engineering, bringing back valuable expertise to their communities. These individuals often bridge the gap between traditional knowledge and Western scientific approaches, creating innovative solutions that respect cultural values while addressing contemporary challenges such as climate change and food security. This dynamic interplay between tradition and innovation is a hallmark of indigenous resilience, demonstrating that cultural preservation is not about remaining static, but about evolving strategically while holding fast to core principles. The impact of climate change in particular presents an existential threat to many indigenous communities, especially those in the Arctic and subarctic regions. Rising temperatures are causing permafrost to thaw, coastal erosion to accelerate, and traditional hunting grounds to shift or disappear. Villages are being forced to relocate, ancient burial sites are being exposed, and the delicate balance of ecosystems is being severely disrupted. In the face of these unprecedented challenges, indigenous communities are not passive victims. They are active agents of change, often leading the way in developing adaptive strategies and advocating for global climate action. Their deep understanding of local ecosystems, honed over millennia, offers invaluable insights into monitoring environmental changes and developing effective mitigation strategies. For instance, the traditional knowledge of ice conditions held by Inuit hunters is proving more accurate and nuanced than some scientific models, becoming essential for safe travel and resource management in a rapidly changing Arctic. This frontline experience and traditional ecological knowledge position indigenous peoples as critical voices in the global conversation on climate change, offering not just warnings, but also practical solutions rooted in a respectful relationship with the natural world. The intergenerational transmission of knowledge is another cornerstone of indigenous cultural survival and revitalization. Elders, revered as living libraries of wisdom, play an indispensable role in passing down stories, histories, skills, and values to younger generations. This process is often informal, occurring through daily interactions, shared activities like hunting or crafting, and storytelling sessions around a fire. However, many communities are also establishing formal mentorship programs, cultural camps, and language immersion schools to ensure that this vital knowledge is not lost. These initiatives are not just about preserving the past, they are about preparing young people to navigate the future with a strong sense of identity and purpose. The challenges of modern life, including the pervasive influence of mainstream media and the pressures of economic necessity, can sometimes make it difficult for young people to fully engage with traditional ways. Yet, the dedicated efforts of elders and cultural leaders continue to foster a profound appreciation for their heritage, empowering the youth to become the next generation of cultural custodians and innovators. Moreover, the artistic expressions of indigenous peoples serve as powerful vehicles for cultural preservation, storytelling, and identity affirmation. Traditional arts, whether they be weaving, carving, beadwork, drumming, or dance, are not merely aesthetic objects or performances. They are imbued with deep cultural meaning, often reflecting spiritual beliefs, historical narratives, and connections to the land. In many communities, The revival of traditional art forms has become a significant part of cultural revitalization efforts, fostering economic opportunities while strengthening cultural pride. Artists often adapt traditional techniques and motifs to create contemporary works that speak to modern experiences, bridging the past and the present. Art exhibitions, cultural festivals, and performances provide platforms for Indigenous artists to share their heritage with wider audiences, challenging stereotypes and promoting cross-cultural understanding. These artistic expressions are a vibrant testament to the enduring creativity and resilience of Indigenous peoples, demonstrating that their cultures are not relics of the past but living, evolving traditions that continue to inspire and enrich the world. The political self-determination of Indigenous nations is a fundamental aspect of their ability to preserve and advance their cultures. The struggle for sovereignty, for the right to govern themselves according to their own laws and customs, has been a long and arduous one, marked by treaties, broken promises, and ongoing legal battles. However, significant strides have been made in recent decades, with many Indigenous nations reasserting their governmental authority, establishing tribal courts, and developing their own economic enterprises. This self-governance allows communities to make decisions that are truly reflective of their values and priorities, from managing natural resources to developing educational curricula that incorporate Indigenous languages and worldviews. The exercise of self-determination is not just about political power, it is about the ability to shape their own destiny, to heal from historical injustices, and to build a future that honors their past. It represents a profound shift from being subjects of colonial states to becoming equal partners, contributing their unique perspectives and knowledge to the broader society. The economic development initiatives undertaken by many Indigenous communities are also vital for their long-term survival and cultural flourishing. While some communities rely on traditional economies rooted in hunting, fishing, and gathering, others are exploring diverse avenues for economic growth, including tourism, resource management, and various enterprises that leverage their cultural assets. These economic ventures are often designed not just for profit, but also to support cultural programs, language revitalization efforts, and social services within the community. For example, some Indigenous tourism operations are specifically structured to educate visitors about tribal history and culture, providing an authentic experience while generating revenue that directly benefits the community. The challenge lies in balancing economic development with cultural preservation and environmental stewardship, ensuring that progress does not come at the expense of their core values. This careful balancing act is a testament to their holistic worldview where economic prosperity is inextricably linked to social well-being and ecological health. The narratives of Indigenous resilience also offer profound lessons for mainstream society, particularly in an era grappling with environmental crises and social fragmentation. The Indigenous emphasis on interconnectedness between humans and nature, between the past, present, and future, and within the community itself, provides a powerful alternative to the individualistic and consumerist ethos that often dominates modern life. Their traditional ecological knowledge, often dismissed or undervalued in the past, is increasingly recognized as a crucial resource for addressing global environmental challenges. The concept of 7 generations thinking, which involves considering the impact of current decisions on 7 generations into the future, exemplifies a long-term perspective that is desperately needed in a world focused on short-term gains. By listening to and learning from Indigenous perspectives, mainstream society can gain invaluable insights into sustainable living, community building, and a more harmonious relationship with the earth. The ongoing struggle for justice, reconciliation, and recognition also remains a critical component of Indigenous resilience. The historical injustices of colonization, including forced removals, residential schools, and the suppression of cultures, have left deep wounds that continue to affect Indigenous communities today. Efforts towards truth and reconciliation are essential for healing these historical traumas and building a more equitable future. This often involves processes of acknowledging past wrongs, repatriating cultural artifacts, and implementing policies that address systemic inequalities. While the path to true reconciliation is long and complex, the unwavering commitment of Indigenous peoples to seek justice and to educate the wider society about their history is a powerful testament to their strength and determination. These efforts are not about dwelling on the past, but about understanding it in order to build a better present and future not just for indigenous peoples, but for all who share this planet. In the vast and varied landscapes where Apache and Athabaskan peoples have lived for millennia, the echoes of their ancestors resonate in the rustle of the leaves, the flow of the rivers, and the wisdom of their elders. Their journey, marked by both profound challenges and extraordinary triumphs, is an ongoing narrative of adaptation, survival, and cultural resurgence. From the arid deserts to the frozen tundras, their stories speak of a deep spiritual connection to the land, an intricate web of kinship, and an unwavering commitment to their distinct ways of life. The efforts to revitalize languages, to reclaim sacred practices, to assert sovereignty, and to build sustainable futures are not merely acts of preservation, they are dynamic processes of creation and renewal, demonstrating a living heritage that continues to evolve and inspire. The lessons embedded in their resilience, their holistic worldview, and their profound respect for the natural world offer an invaluable compass for all humanity as we navigate the complexities of the 21st century. Their continued presence and flourishing cultures are a powerful reminder that true strength lies not in domination, but in harmony, not in forgetting, but in remembering, and not in isolation, but in connection. Ordinary Triumphs is an ongoing narrative of adaptation, survival, and cultural resurgence. From the arid deserts to the frozen tundras, their stories speak of a deep spiritual connection to the land, an intricate web of kinship, and an unwavering commitment to their distinct ways of life. The efforts to revitalize languages, to reclaim sacred practices, to assert sovereignty, and to build sustainable futures are not merely acts of preservation, they are dynamic processes of creation and renewal, demonstrating a living heritage that continues to evolve and inspire. The lessons embedded in their resilience, their holistic worldview, and their profound respect for the natural world offer an invaluable compass for all humanity as we navigate the complexities of the 21st century. Their continued presence and flourishing cultures are a powerful reminder that true strength lies not in domination but in harmony, not in forgetting but in remembering, and not in isolation but in connection. The Apache people, across their various bands and territories, have consistently demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for resilience, a trait forged in the crucible of historical adversity. This resilience is not a passive endurance but an active, creative force that has allowed them to not only withstand immense pressures but to also reinvent and reassert their identities in the face of seismic societal shifts. Consider the Chiricahua Apache, whose legendary resistance against overwhelming military forces for decades became a testament to their strategic brilliance and unwavering commitment to their freedom. Leaders like Geronimo and Cochise, whose names echo through history, were not simply warriors but master tacticians and diplomats, navigating treacherous political landscapes while fiercely protecting their people and their ancestral lands. Their campaigns, often against numerically superior and technologically advanced adversaries, involved intricate knowledge of terrain, masterful use of guerrilla tactics, and a profound understanding of their enemies' weaknesses. This was not just about survival in the physical sense, it was about the preservation of a way of life, a spiritual connection to the land that sustained them, and a social structure that bound them together. The forced removal of many Apache groups, their internment, and the systematic attempts to dismantle their cultural practices were profound traumas, yet even in these darkest hours, the spirit of the Apache endured. The stories passed down through generations, the songs sung in secret, the ceremonies performed away from watchful eyes, all served as vital conduits for cultural continuity. The Mescalero Apache, for instance, after enduring their own period of forced removal and adaptation, established a vibrant reservation in south-central New Mexico. Their ability to leverage their natural resources, notably timber and tourism, within a framework that respects their traditional values, showcases a modern form of resilience. The Inn of the Mountain Gods, a successful resort and casino, is not merely a commercial enterprise, it represents a strategic effort to generate revenue and provide economic opportunities for their people, allowing them to invest in education, healthcare, and cultural preservation programs. This economic self-determination is a direct extension of their historical adaptability, a contemporary expression of their ancient resourcefulness. It demonstrates that tradition and progress are not mutually exclusive, but can be interwoven to create a sustainable future. The annual Mescalero Apache ceremonial dances, a deeply spiritual event, continues to draw participants and observers from across the world, reinforcing their cultural identity and sharing their heritage with a wider audience. These ceremonies are not static reenactments of the past. They are living, breathing expressions of their spiritual beliefs, passed down through generations and adapted to resonate with contemporary life while retaining their core meaning. The Western Apache, encompassing groups like the White Mountain, Cibecue, San Carlos and Tonto, also offer compelling examples of this enduring spirit. Their intricate kinship systems, which traditionally define social roles, responsibilities and land use, continue to play a significant role in their communities today. While the external pressures of modern society have undoubtedly reshaped some aspects of these systems, the underlying principles of mutual support, respect for elders, and collective well-being remain strong. The efforts to revitalize the Western Apache language through immersion programs and educational initiatives are critical because language is more than just a means of communication. It is a vessel for worldview, for historical memory, and for cultural identity. When a language is lost, an entire way of understanding the world can be diminished. Therefore, the dedication to language preservation is a profound act of cultural self-determination, ensuring that the stories, songs, and wisdom of their ancestors continue to resonate with future generations. The Apache Crown Dance, a powerful and visually striking ceremony, is another testament to this cultural vibrancy. Performed by masked dancers representing mountain spirits, it is a deeply sacred event that embodies protection, healing, and spiritual renewal for the community. The continued practice of such ceremonies, often in the face of historical prohibitions and assimilation pressures, underscores the unwavering commitment of the Apache people to their spiritual heritage. Shifting our gaze to the frozen expanses of Alaska, we encounter a distinct yet equally compelling narrative of resilience among the Athabaskan peoples, who share linguistic and ancestral ties with the Apache. While geographically separated by vast distances and living in vastly different environments, the common thread of adaptability to challenging landscapes and a profound respect for the natural world runs deep. The Yukon Athabaskan people of interior Alaska, for instance, have for millennia thrived in a subarctic environment, developing an intricate knowledge of their ecosystem, their animal neighbors, and the seasonal rhythms of their land. Their subsistence lifestyle, centered around hunting, fishing, and trapping, is not merely a means of survival. It is a holistic practice that imbues their lives with meaning, fosters deep community bonds, and reinforces their spiritual connection to the land. The meticulous preparation of game, the sharing of resources, and the respect shown to the animals they harvest are all integral parts of their cultural fabric. The concept of Dana Nina Henash, meaning our land, always encapsulates their profound and enduring relationship with their ancestral territories, a relationship that predates and transcends any colonial boundaries or legal designations. The challenges faced by Alaskan Athabaskans in the modern era are multifaceted, encompassing climate change, resource extraction pressures, and the ongoing struggle to maintain cultural distinctiveness in a globalized world. Yet, their response has been a testament to their inherent strength. Many communities are at the forefront of documenting the impacts of climate change on their traditional hunting and fishing grounds, providing invaluable indigenous knowledge to scientific researchers. They are actively engaged in advocating for sustainable resource management practices, understanding that the health of their land directly impacts the health of their people. The revitalization of traditional crafts, storytelling, and language instruction is a continuous process, often spearheaded by dedicated elders and community leaders. The Athabaskan fiddle dance, a lively and integral part of their social gatherings, serves as a powerful expression of joy, community, and cultural pride, demonstrating how traditional arts can continue to evolve and thrive in contemporary settings. The Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, home to many Yupik and Athabaskan communities, faces some of the most dramatic climate impacts, with villages grappling with erosion, permafrost thaw, and unpredictable weather patterns. Yet, these communities are not simply victims of environmental change. They are active agents in developing adaptive strategies, drawing upon generations of ecological knowledge to navigate these new realities. The blending of traditional ecological knowledge with contemporary scientific understanding is a hallmark of Athabaskan resilience. Elders, who hold vast stores of knowledge about animal behavior, plant uses, and weather patterns, are increasingly recognized as invaluable resources for understanding environmental change. Their observations, often spanning decades, provide a long-term perspective that complements scientific data and helps inform conservation efforts. This collaboration is not without its complexities, but it represents a powerful model for addressing global challenges through diverse knowledge systems. Furthermore, the fight for self-determination and sovereignty among Alaskan Native peoples, including the Athabaskans, is a continuous and vital struggle. The Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, ANSA of 1971, while a landmark piece of legislation, also created a complex corporate structure that has presented both opportunities and challenges for Native communities. Navigating this system, while simultaneously preserving traditional governance structures and cultural practices, requires immense dedication and strategic acumen. The regional and village corporations established under ANSA have become powerful economic engines for many communities, providing jobs, scholarships, and investments in infrastructure. However, the balance between economic development and cultural preservation remains a delicate and ongoing negotiation, one that Athabaskan communities are actively shaping. The spiritual worldview of both the Apache and Alaskan Athabaskan peoples is deeply intertwined with their relationship to the land and all living things. There is no rigid separation between the sacred and the mundane. Every aspect of life is imbued with spiritual significance. The mountains, rivers, forests, and animals are not merely resources to be exploited, but are respected relatives, teachers, and sources of spiritual power. This holistic perspective contrasts sharply with dominant Western paradigms that often view nature as separate from humanity, something to be controlled or owned. For the Apache, ceremonies like the sunrise dance for young women entering womanhood are profound expressions of this spiritual connection, celebrating life transitions and reinforcing community bonds. For the Athabaskans, the practice of giving thanks to the animals after a successful hunt, or the careful stewardship of trapping lines, reflects a similar reverence for the interconnectedness of all life. This spiritual foundation provides a deep wellspring of strength and meaning, allowing individuals and communities to navigate adversity with a sense of purpose and belonging. The oral traditions, rich with stories of creation, heroes, and moral lessons, serve as living libraries of this worldview, passed down from generation to generation, shaping identity and guiding behavior. The concept of kinship, so central to both Apache and Athabaskan societies, extends beyond immediate family to encompass an intricate web of relatives, clans, and even non-human entities. This expansive understanding of family fosters a strong sense of collective responsibility and mutual aid. In Apache communities, an individual's identity is often defined by their relationships to others within their clan, an extended family creating a powerful support system. Similarly, in Athabaskan societies, the sharing of resources, the care for elders, and the upbringing of children are often communal endeavors, reinforcing the bonds that hold the community together. This emphasis on relationality stands in stark contrast to the individualism often promoted in Western societies. It is this deep-seated sense of belonging and interdependence that has historically enabled these communities to withstand external pressures and to rebuild in the aftermath of disruption. The strength of these social structures is not just about survival, it is about flourishing, about ensuring that every member of the community feels valued, supported, and connected. The traditional potlatch ceremonies among some Athabaskan groups, for example, are elaborate celebrations of generosity and social status, where wealth is redistributed and community ties are strengthened through feasting, gift-giving, and storytelling. The efforts to revitalize languages, reclaim sacred practices, and assert sovereignty are not merely acts of preservation, they are dynamic processes of creation and renewal, demonstrating a living heritage that continues to evolve and inspire. The Apache language, with its complex grammar and rich vocabulary, encodes a unique way of understanding the world. Revitalization efforts, often led by elders and dedicated linguists, involve creating educational materials, immersion programs for children, and digital resources to make the language accessible to new generations. These efforts are not about returning to a static past, but about ensuring that the language continues to be a vibrant, living force in contemporary communities. Similarly, the re-establishment of sacred ceremonies and traditional governance structures is a powerful assertion of cultural identity and self-determination. This involves navigating the complexities of modern legal systems while upholding ancestral laws and customs. It is a continuous process of adaptation and innovation, demonstrating that cultural authenticity does not mean stasis, but rather a dynamic responsiveness to changing circumstances while remaining true to core values. The establishment of tribal courts, for instance, allows Apache nations to exercise their inherent sovereignty and administer justice according to their own cultural norms, providing a more culturally relevant and effective system for their people. The lessons embedded in their resilience, their holistic worldview, and their profound respect for the natural world offer an invaluable compass for all humanity as we navigate the complexities of the 21st century. As the world grapples with environmental degradation, social fragmentation, and a crisis of meaning, the indigenous perspectives offered by the Apache and Athabaskan peoples provide powerful alternatives. Their understanding of sustainability, rooted in generations of living in harmony with the land, offers practical models for resource management and ecological stewardship. Their emphasis on community, interconnectedness, and collective well-being provides a counter-narrative to rampant individualism and consumerism. Their spiritual traditions, which foster a deep sense of respect for all life, offer a path towards greater ethical responsibility and a more profound appreciation for the sacredness of existence. These are not merely quaint historical practices, they are living philosophies with urgent relevance for contemporary global challenges. The wisdom of these cultures, forged over millennia of intimate interaction with diverse environments, holds keys to unlocking more sustainable, equitable, and fulfilling futures for all. Their continued presence and flourishing cultures are a powerful reminder that true strength lies not in domination, but in harmony, not in forgetting, but in remembering, and not in isolation, but in connection. The historical trajectory of the Apache, marked by fierce independence and strategic adaptation, provides a rich tapestry of examples demonstrating how a people can maintain their integrity in the face of overwhelming external pressures. The Apache Wars, often romanticized and misunderstood, were not simply a series of conflicts but a protracted struggle for self-determination against the encroaching forces of colonial expansion. The Apache's deep knowledge of their territory, their ability to move swiftly and silently through rugged landscapes, and their decentralized leadership structures made them formidable adversaries. Their tactical brilliance was born from generations of living in a challenging environment where quick thinking and cooperation were essential for survival. This strategic acumen was not limited to warfare. It extended to their social organization, their resource management, and their diplomatic relations with other tribes, and at times with the encroaching powers. The stories of Apache scouts, who often served as intermediaries and guides, highlight the complex and often precarious positions individuals found themselves in, navigating loyalty to their people while operating within the structures imposed by outsiders. These were not simple choices, but deeply personal and communal decisions made under extreme duress, reflecting the enduring struggle to protect their families and their way of life. The establishment of reservations, though often intended as a means of control and assimilation, also paradoxically became spaces where Apache cultures could regroup and begin the long process of rebuilding. On these reservations, despite the many hardships and restrictions, communities found ways to sustain their cultural practices, often adapting them to new circumstances. The San Carlos Apache Reservation in Arizona, for example, has seen significant efforts in cultural revitalization, including the establishment of tribal colleges that offer courses in Apache language, history, and traditional arts. These institutions are not just about academic learning, they are about fostering a sense of pride, identity, and continuity for the next generation. The development of tribal enterprises, from cattle ranching to tourism, represents a modern iteration of their historical resourcefulness, allowing them to create economic stability and self-sufficiency, which are crucial for cultural preservation. The annual Apache GIA Festival on the San Carlos Reservation is a vibrant celebration of their heritage, featuring traditional dances, food, and crafts, drawing together community members and sharing their culture with visitors. These events are vital for reinforcing cultural bonds and for educating outsiders about the richness and diversity of Apache life. The journey of the Apache people through the 20th and 21st centuries has been one of continuous negotiation between tradition and modernity. Many Apache individuals have excelled in mainstream society, becoming doctors, lawyers, artists, and educators, yet they often remain deeply connected to their cultural roots. This ability to navigate multiple worlds, to draw strength from both their heritage and contemporary opportunities is a testament to their adaptability. It challenges the simplistic notion that indigenous cultures must either remain traditional or become assimilated. Instead, the Apache demonstrate that cultural identity is a dynamic, evolving process, capable of embracing change while retaining its core essence. The development of contemporary Apache art, music, and literature, for instance, represents a powerful fusion of ancestral aesthetics and modern forms of expression, allowing for new ways to tell their stories and articulate their experiences. These contemporary cultural productions are not just reflections of the past, they are active contributions to the global cultural landscape, offering unique perspectives and enriching the broader human experience. Turning our attention back to the Alaskan Athabaskans, the sheer vastness and unforgiving nature of their traditional territories underscore the profound level of environmental adaptation required for their survival and flourishing. The Athabaskan peoples, including groups like the Gwich'in, Tanana, and Dena'ina, developed sophisticated hunting technologies, intricate knowledge of animal migration patterns, and ingenious methods for preserving food in extreme cold. Their seasonal movements, dictated by the availability of resources, were not random wanderings but carefully choreographed migrations, guided by generations of accumulated wisdom. The construction of semi-subterranean dwellings, the use of fur clothing, and the development of specialized tools for ice fishing and trapping are all testaments to their innovative spirit and deep understanding of their environment. This intimate relationship with the land also fostered a profound sense of stewardship, where sustainability was not an abstract concept, but a lived reality, essential for the well-being of future generations. The land was not seen as something to be conquered, but as a reciprocal partner, demanding respect and careful management. The impacts of colonialism and resource development in Alaska have presented unique challenges for Athabaskan communities. The gold rushes of the late 19th and early 20th centuries brought an influx of outsiders, disrupting traditional lifeways and introducing new diseases. Later, the construction of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline System taps in the 1970s, while bringing some economic development, also raised significant environmental concerns and further altered the landscape. Despite these profound disruptions, Athabaskan communities have continued to assert their rights and advocate for their interests. The Gwich'in Nation's unwavering commitment to protecting the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, ANWR, from oil drilling, for example, is a powerful demonstration of their spiritual and cultural connection to the caribou, which are central to their subsistence and identity. Their advocacy, grounded in both scientific understanding and traditional knowledge, has garnered international attention and highlights the global significance of indigenous environmental stewardship. This struggle is not merely about a particular piece of land, it is about the continued survival of a way of life, a culture deeply intertwined with the health of the ecosystem. The revitalization of Athabaskan languages, many of which are critically endangered, is a monumental undertaking, but one that is being pursued with unwavering dedication. Community language programs, often involving elders as teachers, are working to pass on the languages to younger generations. Technology is also playing a crucial role, with the development of language apps, online dictionaries, and digital archives. These efforts are about more than just vocabulary and grammar. They are about restoring a sense of cultural pride and ensuring that the unique knowledge systems embedded within these languages continue to thrive. The Dena'ina language, spoken by the indigenous people of the Cook Inlet region, is one example where dedicated community members are working tirelessly to revive it, creating new speakers and ensuring its continuity. The stories and oral histories preserved in these languages offer invaluable insights into the history, worldview, and ecological knowledge of the Athabaskan peoples, providing a crucial bridge between past, present, and future. The Athabaskan tradition of storytelling, often performed around a fire in the long Alaskan winters, is a powerful medium for transmitting cultural knowledge, moral lessons, and historical memory. These stories are not just entertainment, they are pedagogic tools, shaping the values and worldview of listeners. They connect individuals to their ancestors, to the land, and to the spiritual forces that animate their world. The art of storytelling, with its emphasis on vivid imagery, dramatic tension, and often humorous observations, is a highly valued skill, and master storytellers are revered within their communities. These oral traditions, alongside traditional songs and dances, are vital components of their cultural resilience, ensuring that the collective memory of the Athabaskan people remains vibrant and accessible to all generations. The contemporary performance of these stories, whether in traditional settings or on modern stages, demonstrates the enduring power and adaptability of these ancient art forms. In both the Apache and Athabaskan contexts, the concept of sovereignty extends beyond mere political autonomy. It encompasses cultural, spiritual, and intellectual self-determination. It is the right to define their own identities, to practice their own traditions, and to govern themselves according to their own principles. This pursuit of sovereignty is a continuous process, often involving complex legal battles, political negotiations, and community organizing. The establishment of tribal governments, the development of tribal laws, and the assertion of jurisdiction over their lands and resources are all expressions of this inherent right. For the Apache, this has meant asserting control over their reservation lands and resources, developing their own police forces and judicial systems, and negotiating government-to-government relationships with federal and state authorities. For the Athabaskans, the complex corporate structure of NXA has required a different approach to self-determination, balancing economic development with the preservation of traditional governance and cultural practices. This ongoing struggle for sovereignty is not about separation, but about achieving a respectful and equitable relationship with the broader society, one that recognizes and honors their distinct nationhood. The youth in both Apache and Athabaskan communities play a crucial role in the ongoing narrative of resilience and cultural resurgence. They are the inheritors of a rich legacy, and their engagement in cultural activities, language learning, and advocacy is essential for the future. Many young people are actively embracing their heritage, taking on leadership roles, and finding innovative ways to express their cultural identities in a contemporary world. They are using social media, filmmaking, and other modern platforms to share their stories, challenge stereotypes, and connect with other Indigenous youth globally. This intergenerational transfer of knowledge and responsibility is a powerful testament to the vitality of these cultures. The mentorship provided by elders, who are the living repositories of traditional knowledge, is invaluable, creating a bridge between the past and the future. This dynamic interplay between generations ensures that the wisdom of the ancestors continues to inform and inspire the challenges and opportunities of the present. The traditional coming-of-age ceremonies like the Apache Sunrise Dance are not just rituals, they are profound rites of passage that instill in young people a deep sense of their cultural identity, their responsibilities to their community, and their connection to the spiritual world. The Apache and Athabaskan narratives offer profound insights into the human capacity for adaptation, not just to extreme environments, but to profound social and political upheaval. Their histories are not simply records of suffering, but chronicles of ingenuity, perseverance, and unwavering spirit. They demonstrate that cultural strength is not measured by material wealth or political dominance, but by the ability to maintain identity, uphold values, and sustain community in the face of adversity. Their experiences challenge prevailing notions of progress and development, suggesting that true progress lies in harmony with the natural world, in the strength of community bonds, and in the continuity of cultural heritage. The ongoing contributions of Apache and Athabaskan peoples to art, literature, environmental stewardship, and social justice are testaments to their enduring vitality and their invaluable role in shaping a more diverse and equitable world. Their stories, both ancient and contemporary, serve as powerful reminders of the richness that comes from embracing diverse ways of knowing and being, and the enduring power of the human spirit to not just survive, but to flourish against all odds.